What's up, my fellas? Don't forget to leave feedback and enjoy the story. We can see that a strange picture appeared before us. We were in a strange place that had a dark and intimidating aura about it. All the magma was purple and dark in color. We could understand that this was the last battle of an endless war. We were in a demon castle, the very same demon castle where hordes of all the demon knights and other unknown creatures stood. Someone was walking down the path, going straight to the strange building. He wondered what. Is it really the king of the demons before him? Right in front of us appeared the king of demons, from which just reeked a terrifying aura. He looked at the man who dared to stand in front of him and wondered how such a brave man could stand in front of him. But if he had gone so far, he should not believe in himself and think that he was very strong and brave, because this was not even the end. He made it clear that the battle was still in full swing. All the creatures immediately rushed at the man in the fight, and he just smiled and was ready to take the battle. He began to create all sorts of inscriptions around his hands, which immediately increased his speed. But this was not the end, because he was able to get 2 guns out of these portals. The hero was sure that he was too strong, so with a smile on his eyes, he began to shoot all enemies. The heads of the enemies were cracking, and the man continued to cast abilities. His shots were getting faster and faster. But he didn't like that the Demon King had so many monsters, so he started needing them with double effort. But looking at the situation from the outside, he realized that it was time to use his crown skill dance of 4 lights. The man's bullets began to hit more and more targets, but the monsters could not calm down. They still continued to attack. The Demon King looked at everything and did not show anything. He could not show his emotions. But after seeing how our hero had dealt with all his minions, the king decided to get up from his seat. After all, the man was already standing and waiting for the very moment when the king approached him. And at that time, the king drew all his weapons as soon as he took his spear. The king was immediately covered with a glow. Our hero thought that he could dodge his attacks, but the king was much faster. Our hero didn't expect anything like that. Our hero looked at the result of the king of demons and realized that if the king hit him with his strike, he would surely die. However, while our hero was thinking the Demon King and his attack again, even though our hero was able to defend himself from the first blow, another one followed. The man wanted to shoot the Demon King, but his bullets could not even wound him. He had understood that his attacks would not even wound him. But if he looked more closely, he could see that if he hit the stone in the Demon King's forehead, only then would he receive significant damage. The man immediately wanted to think of a way to get to the dark stone. The man kept shooting, but as we had seen how useless his attacks were, the Demon King kept trying to prove to our hero that their abilities were just different, or rather, they were on different levels. The Demon King began to create dark spheres behind his back, and after preparing them, he launched them directly at the man. Our hero tried to dodge them, but they were too fast. Our hero thought that he could dodge all of his attacks, but he failed to notice the last charge. It hit our hero, so that only after that his weapon fell out of his hands. The Demon King had once more reminded our hero that their abilities were very different. But our hero decided that now was the time to use a trump card up his sleeve. He was able to create an incredibly large portal from which he immediately pulled out a huge rifle, from which he fired the first laser shot that struck the crystal in the Demon King's forehead. Although the barrier was not completely penetrated, but the Demon King was very unhappy. He could not understand how he could be injured by an ordinary man. The Demon King put his dark roots right on the ground, which began to twine around the legs of our hero. Our hero realized that now was the time to launch his last and decisive attack on the Demon King. Our hero knew that the Demon King would not move now. At this point, began to say a lot of spells. Our hero constantly strengthened himself and continued to attack the Demon King. The king of demons did not like everything, so he got more and more out of it. At that point, our hero realized that he had to end it now. He pointed his rifle at the Demon King's crystal. Our hero, looking at the very angry face of the demon, asked him if he knew how long he had been playing World 2.0. Our hero had put his pistol directly on the crystal and pulled the trigger, which would have marked the end of the Demon King's existence. Our hero stood in a pose of victory. We can see that it was all a game. Our hero sat at his computer and played as a musketeer class. Our hero has passed the game and only thought about starting a new adventure in the next update, but for a new class of magician. But our hero was not an ordinary one, because he thought that in the new update is a new kind of magician which will be able to receive bonuses in exchange for penalties. Our hero did not often use this system because it is dangerous. But if he earned these penalty characteristics, it would be possible to obtain additional skills. Our hero immediately began to get a characteristic 1-by-1 addiction was obtained. Insomnia was obtained. Puppet was obtained. Chronic headache was obtained. Short life was obtained. Our hero was asking himself what would happen if he got all the magic characteristics of the maximum level. After all, if it will be so he can become the greatest magician. Our hero thought it all very amusing and curious because he understood that in this case his character will be completely sick because of the penalties. But he did not care because he believed that it would be just in the game. Just then, the character of our hero began to wake up. From oblivion, someone was calling him. Our hero did not understand what was happening because the only thing that he remembered was the fact that he had a loading screen before the start of the game. But as soon as the loading screen ended, it went black. Our hero immediately lost consciousness. He felt the earth slipping away from under his feet. He felt that he was being pulled somewhere. But our hero had not been allowed to think about everything, for he was immediately lifted from the bed by force. The big man punched him in the face and demanded our hero to get up. He threw him on the night table so that he would wake up for sure. But at that moment, our hero realized that he had now become the weakest character. Our hero continued to receive insults and blows from the man. All present were looking at our hero and giggling because they thought that our hero was really stupid because he was sleeping until the warden came. Some even thought that our hero would die much faster than the warden would come next time. However, while they were joking with each other, the warden started shouting at them too. Everyone immediately began to run to where they were called. Our hero had been thinking and gathering his thoughts while they were asking him about the goods. During such a short period of time, he realized that his name in this world was Rennock. But after comparing all the facts, he had guessed that this was the name of his character. In the game in which he had recently started to play, our hero would never have thought that he would fall into such a worthless character, but in a moment we see that 3 days have passed since our hero woke up in that place. But after looking around, he realizes that the place he is in looks more like a factory, though our hero doesn't fully understand what's going on. He got used to working in the factory pretty quickly. He even has to get up before sunrise and work until he is completely exhausted, but still before going to bed they were given porridge, which was more like slop. And all workers refused to answer our hero's questions because most of them were afraid of the guards. But there is another reason, and that is that our hero was just written in the dead, but our hero did not even mind them to think so, because even he understood that he was not in a position to do anything by himself. Our hero had just sat down, but they immediately started calling him because they knew that he was loafing away from his work, just thinking a little. The bearded man started to chase our hero again, threatening to beat him up. But our hero coughed up a lot. The bearded man and Wang were looking at our hero and thought that our hero would surely die. Soon, so the bearded man ordered one to move our hero away so that he would just stop seeing him. Our hero coughed and looked at the whole situation and realized that he could keep his sanity. In such a situation, he understood that most likely it was all because of the willpower that he had put into his character. But this time, to the warder, went to our hero. He struck him again and told him to hurry up. The warden told him to go somewhere far away because he did not want to see our hero die in front of their eyes. While our hero was collecting all the details that fell out, he realized that his health is to hell. But he was still glad that this is the price for his skills. After all, if the level of his talent is as he made it in the game, then he will definitely be able to escape using his powers. He even thought that he would need to escape. But first, it would be necessary to find out about this place, and the fact that everyone ignores him only plays into his hands. Our hero went through a door, and he saw another door down the corridor behind, which there was light. He asked himself, or did this door lead to? He went in and noticed that there were some people there. They were discussing the prisoners, or rather just the labor force that had been brought in the other day. But their scheme was simple, because the more they made them work, the more profit they got. But even taking this into account, they could not say with certainty whether they would be able to handle all the tasks given to them. One of them wondered where they were sending the goods, but another was aware of everything. So he said that they were sending all these goods to the Black Magician. Our hero heard their conversation and understood that after all there is magic in their world, and this can only mean one thing: he will be able to use it. He wondered what he had to do to be able to use magic. But at that moment, one of the men who was standing there took out some strange thing. Judging by their conversation, it was clear that it was some kind of body enhancer. The warden said that this reinforcer was different from the ones they had seen because it was a new version. And one need not worry about the consequences because the amount of toxins in it was much lower than in its predecessors. It is also simply because it now has a filter with mana. Our hero saw that Barryball, and immediately his body began to overflow with his strange aura. He felt as if a current had gone through his whole body, and a sixth sense, which seemed to overpower the rest, as if his third eye had opened. He had never felt anything like this before. He felt his alter ego. He could not believe that such a thing could and would exist. And the main force that formed this world, and the driving force that determined the existence, was the magical energy that flew in the air of his new world, and from that moment in, his body as well. Our hero could not understand what he felt, because everything that he felt at the moment was very familiar, and at other times very alien. He was able to feel the magic of his new world. It was night when everyone should be asleep, but our hero was still awake and lying under the blanket, looking at his hand where the light of mana was burning. He thought that he could run away if he wanted to, because he has enough mana. Our hero remembered the words of the wardens, so he understood that the man from the Union would come in 2 days, so that on that day no one would care about our hero. He wondered if there was any way to travel alone and remain unnoticed at all. But our hero decided not to just sit idly by, but to take action. He let some magic into his hands in order to create light there. He warmed his forehead and was very glad, because it would have seemed to everyone that he was about to die. He asked himself, should he be left to die alone? At that moment, the waters were exchanging goods or something similar. As usual, Wang was running after everything, and the warden even wanted to reward him with the reinforcement thingy. Van accepted this gift without any enthusiasm, but taking it in his hands, the bearded man asked him to do something with our hero, because judging by all appearances he could really die. And this, as everyone knows, cannot happen because the union members are coming to visit them soon. Van also agrees to this proposal. When the next day came, we could see that while everyone was gathering and discussing the fact that the union people were coming soon, it was today that the wardens would be brainwashing them much more than usual. But our hero didn't look so good. Everybody thought that our hero had come down with a fever, and many people also thought that he was going to die. They wondered what would happen if our hero died before dinner. If he did, they would not be able to get rid of the body. Nobody wanted to drag our hero long, and our hero was glad that everybody believed it. Nobody wanted to do anything but Van, so he volunteered to do something. Our hero wondered what they meant by clean up properly, and the whole situation was getting out of hand, because Wang was just standing over our hero's bed. Our hero was very wary, but when Wang turned our hero to him, nothing of the kind happened. He just gave him the Viper. He said it was an active booster which temporarily improved his physical strength. He also said that it would help him cope with what was ahead of him. Our hero couldn't understand what lay ahead of him or what everyone was saying around him. But at one moment our hero felt that only thanks to this preparation he could feel the energy rushing through the edge. He even remembered that Wank had received it after the order of the warden. At that moment he realized that the escape plan had changed a little. Our hero's entire body was covered by an unknown power. Our gaze was directed to the lower floor of the loading platform. People were loading something into machines, and the inspectors were calling the shots. They were always talking about how they had very little product. The inspectors didn't like almost everything. Did they even ask who was really running their factory? They even said that they had reduced the workload of the workers because the Human Rights Commission had made an accusation. At this point our hero came to the table, but from the looks of it he was not welcome. Our hero came up just to ask what he should do if he had business with the director and his office was closed. The man at the desk said he did not care about our hero, however, as soon as our hero said something about vipers, the man immediately started moving. He immediately asked to follow him, and at the same time he shouted at our hero. He said that he was very busy, and in general he could not make up his mind. He asked our hero to carry their goods right now, and he did not understand why our hero had been assigned to this type of work. However, when our hero entered the room with the grumpy man, the man was immediately struck by lightning. Our hero was glad because he managed to use this spell after all. He picked up the keys, which most likely were for the car. At this time our hero began to rush around the room and look for something very interesting. He found a lot of things, but he was looking for one thing, vipers. Our hero realized that it is the whipper that makes him feel better, and its reception helps him in everything. But at one moment our hero heard that a bearded warden, who smelled the whipper, was coming to his door. He asked if it was him because if someone had decided to rest, he should have finished. He opened the door, but at that moment he saw his friend, who was unconscious while he was standing there surprised. Our hero decided to use his spell again. The bearded man was very surprised by the magic, and our hero could not cast another blow because he had no mono left to do it. The bearded man recognized our hero as that brat, so he decided to go at him with his fists. But the bearded man certainly did not expect that our hero would have a gun at his fingertips. The warden threw his hands up in the air because he knew that he was not in a good position now. He asked our hero to calm down and talk calmly. He apologized to our hero and said that he had no other choice. But if our hero would not kill him, he would certainly not tell anyone what had happened. Our hero understood that he must not say anything to anyone, but he could not just kill a man. The bearded man was already called by his friend who was looking for him, and our hero was still holding the trigger on the bearded man. He showed us that he would keep his promise and that he would show us the way out by pointing to the parking lot. Our hero was looking at him and could not make a decision. His friend had already thought that probably his friend was sleeping. As usual, but on entering the door he saw a car. Our hero was sitting in that car, pointing his gun at the man. He had only one request, that he open the gate. He complied, of course, and opened the gate, but as soon as he drove out, he started to talk on the radio and ask for all exits to be blocked. But at that moment, our hero pulled the trigger on him again and said that the man would be a problem. So he immediately shot the man and blew his brains out. Our hero thought that his high spiritual strength, rationality, and calmness had overcome the fear within him. Our hero understood that this was what kept him sane. Our hero did not care what stood in his way, all the calmness, which becomes even stronger in an extreme situation, but he was still able to escape. However, he still began to consider himself a talented magician. We are transported to a modern city where a policeman was running after some man in a back alley. He shouted at the man to stop as if he had done something wrong. There was glass in front of him that prevented him from leaving, but he had jumped out the window onto the street. Everyone was surprised, but they calmed each other down, saying that no one would have survived if he had jumped from such a height. But they still had to find the man and make sure he was dead. The modern, magically and technologically advanced city of the Balkans stretched out before US. Our hero drove the car that he had stolen from the factory, and he was very surprised that the world he was in was completely different from the one he had seen in World 2.0, and also everything in the city was saturated with magic. Our hero could feel the familiar power that he felt in the factory. This could only mean that there was an enormous amount of magical energy in the world, but he wondered if it would be worth the effort to escape. He looked at the whippersnappers, thinking about using them, but he realized that he did not have that many, so he realized that he would only have to use them in case of emergency. But he decided to rest first because his body surely would not recover if he was so anxious. Our hero had arrived at the hotel and he almost fainted when he got there, because it took him an hour just to get there. But he went through the city to make sure he hadn't been followed. But after that, he decided to rest. Our hero was so tired that he did not even make it to the bed and just collapsed on the floor, waking up on the floor. Our hero first wanted to drink something. He drank so much water that he felt as if he had been reborn. But at that moment, the side effects of the viper made themselves felt. He realized that he really wanted to vomit. In addition to that, our hero had an incredible headache and his muscles ached, tearing apart. But our hero understood that if he wanted to move his body and start something, he had no other choice but to rely on the stimulants that he had taken from the factory in a not very honest way. In addition to this pain, our hero still wanted to eat, because the last time he did it was about 12 hours ago. But when he looked in his refrigerator, which was in his room, he found only canned food. He did not like the food, but was told on the phone that they only had 2 hours left to pay. For the room, our hero was asked if he wanted to extend his stay there. Our hero answered in the affirmative, so he was immediately told his bell. He was also told that he would have to pay the bill. Today, our hero could not believe that his bill of $220,000 was so high, and the prices of canned goods were also shocking. He took out all his money and saw that he only had $10,000 left. Hay realized that he didn't even have enough money for one day's lodging. Our hero decided to think of something, but first he decided to clean up before he went out. He went into the bathroom and got a haircut of his own. He looked at himself in the mirror and wondered if anyone he knew would recognize him. Walking down the street, he thought that he would not be able to earn money legally. After all, he is an illegal visitor in this world, so he does not even have an identity card. He thinks that the best way is to beat up the criminals and take their money. He does not think that this would be wrong. So he dares to gather some information first. Our hero began immediately to surround his body with magic and to hear the conversations of the people around him. Somebody realized that an engineer in Palmer's who had checked the new building company for errors has disappeared, so we will have to look for a replacement. And somebody else is looking for an agency that will lobby for the choice of the construction company in the 17th district with conditions for the division of profits at the ratio of 8-2. Our hero understood that these conversations were simply pointless. But at one point, he heard a very strange conversation coming from the alley. Our hero tracked down where it was all located, so he decided to go there. Our hero, while using his skill, began to feel bad again. He blamed it on his body, but after using the whipper, he could feel the power again, which began to fill every part of his body. He realized that now was the time to make money. In the alley, it was going on as, you might think, two bandits were beating the poor man for money. They were beating him because he had lost the money they had stolen. The man cries out that he knows nothing, and the bandit's friend says that beating him is not enough. So to get back the money they lost, they decide to dismantle the poor man piece by piece. After these words, one of the bandits took out a very strange knife. The man became even more shaken with fear, asking not to do anything to him, but the bandits did not listen to him and asked him to be still at that moment. The man was ready to take the blow, but our hero was there. He struck the two men with his lightning bolt in an instant. Both men were defeated at that moment, and the man was expressing his gratitude. To our hero was looking for money in the pockets of the robber at that moment. He found about 700,000, but he thought it would be enough to buy some medicine. Our hero had also found a strange object in the bandit's hands. Our hero did not know what it was, but the man asked not to, pointed at him because it was a modification of the laser cutter, which had been converted illegally into a weapon. Our hero decided to take it with him because the more protection he had with him, the better for him. Our hero started to get up from his seat and asked the man not to say anything to anyone, but the man was ready to do just that. Looking at the ominous look of our hero, the man said that he will not do anything. He will even do his every order. Our hero heard that and wanted to ask him a question. What can one do in this city to get money if one has no ID? Our hero immediately went to the place that the poor man had most likely recommended. Our hero thought it looked a lot like a bar, but it could be something else. So he decided to hide his identity for now. He changed his face with magic and thought only that he could rely only on himself. When our hero entered the room, he looked around for a while before approaching the counter. An old man with a white beard asked him what he wanted. Our hero answered that he would like something lighter, but as soon as he took his glass, he went straight to the point, saying that he needed a job, and he asked if there was any work for the magician. But at that moment, a very perky girl came out of the door. She did not understand what was going on because the working time had just ended and she had gone to bed. The old man at once told her that a magician looking for work was in front of them. But the girl could not even believe that our hero was a magician. He certainly was not like him. However, based on the fact that magicians are rare and she did not care about appearance, she immediately introduced herself as Jenny. Our hero, in his turn, introduced himself as Van Tu. It was not his real name because nobody could be trusted. Jenny immediately started to ask our hero questions about that he was probably looking for a job and that somebody else had told him about that place. But Jenny made it clear at once that if our hero cannot do anything, he has nothing to do with them. They don't need the usual tricks. She asked him not to tell any important information about himself, like his type or something. But our hero didn't listen to Jenny and used the spell. At the same moment, Jenny noticed that our hero had a blob of energy in his hands which turned into electricity at the same second. She understood that it was very rare magic. And in addition, our hero had activated it without a magic circle at all. She understood at once that our hero was a good match, so she immediately gave our hero a contract for the job. Jenny asked what kind of job he was looking for, but our hero said at once that he would not deceive people and he would be happy to do everything else. At the same moment, Jenny was very pleased. After all, she wanted to offer him a job as a hunter. She immediately gave him a sign with a drawing of his new purpose. She explained that he worked as a janitor and that he had run away 3 days before after trying to steal Achilles' security equipment. Our hero will be paid when he is able to do his job. Our hero asked why he had been caught because he had only tried and had not even stolen. But he had been told that a normal janitor would certainly not have been able to break into the security system and that all the other janitors have been killed. Jenny explained that that was why Achilles had asked them to catch him, and since the manager to whom he belongs refused to get involved, he and Jenny would have no problems at all. Our hero had already gone outside, but he was turning over in his head Jenny's words about his reward. He remembered that she had promised him 3 million seals, and it did not seem to her to be a great reward for catching a rat. Our hero at that moment looked at the scoreboard and wondered if they had more information about this man, because if they received so much information, then our hero could get more. Of course, Jenny could give our hero the information he was dreaming about, but she did not understand why he needed it. Does he want to use blood magic to catch him? But she begs him not to do it, because all greedy bastards who ask for 5 million for an order our hero didn't even want to use blood magic because he could just use a few ordinary spells. Our hero remembered that the common magic from his memories, or rather what he remembered from World 2.0, still worked in his new world. He understood that the most suitable magic for his new task was the magic of the hunter class from version 2.0. This skill is called blood chase. Using this magic on part of the scrap of clothes of the janitor who escaped, a snake with a bloody hue appeared from the portal. It immediately began to run in a strange direction, which our hero was following. The snake came right up to the back of the man. However, he did not notice anything. He did not even understand what he felt at that moment. But our hero appeared behind, the janitor calling him by name. The janitor ran away at once and could not understand how our hero had found him in the first place. Our hero just followed him and thought that he was completely ready for battle, but that he would not even be there. But it is hard for our hero to run after the man because his body is very weak and attacks from a distance do not inspire confidence in him. Our hero formed something like a mushroom with a blue aura in his hand. He thought that this ability would help him in this battle, so he used the skill Soundwave. Immediately the mushroom, which was spinning in his hand, turned into a charge of magic which knocked out the escaped janitor. He fell on the ground and was holding his ears. He was in a lot of pain, as his eardrums were most likely ruptured by this strong skill. Our hero stood over him and told him he shouldn't have run away. But our hero was distracted by a shot which was blocked by another aura. Our hero realized that he and the janitor were not alone, and that there was a sniper somewhere nearby. Our hero was glad because he had managed to put up a protective barrier, but the fact that he had not noticed the shot could not leave him alone. He realized that now he needed to strengthen his barrier once again, as he had to hold out, even if an anti-tank missile flew at him, at least for a short time. Our hero was surrounded by a blue aura that protected him from external influence. But our hero still could not understand where the sniper was. He began to use the skill of scanning, but it showed him that within a radius of 1 kilometer there was no one nearby. This led our hero to the fact that either the shooter uses camouflage, which does not work his skill of detection. But why should the sniper shoot at him? Our hero noticed that something was wrong because the spot where the sniper had shot was aimed not at him, but at the janitor running away from him. Our hero thought that someone just wanted the janitor to be silenced forever. Our hero had nothing to do with that because someone just wanted to stop him from carrying out his mission, so he had already pointed his gun at the fleeing man. But our hero at the same time was not going to put down the sniper who was trying to kill his target. In front of him, our hero could not allow the image of Van Hunter to be destroyed. He had shot the man and thought only that the more people would think that he was cold-blooded and cruel, the less people would want to get in his way. The sniper was very surprised by the scene, so he lost his guard and his disguise fell off at once. Our hero could smell him on the roof. He realized that the moment he killed his target, his matter had become very strong. The sniper couldn't figure out if our hero really saw him. But our hero didn't waste any time, because he had already gathered in his hand a bundle of electricity, which he wanted to send at a distance of less than a kilometer. He knew it was a spell that he could control even with his eyes, closed in electrical magic like lightning. The sniper could not understand what our hero was doing, but the clouds above the sniper began to thicken and lightning began to appear. Our hero had already finished spell call of thunder, which hit the sniper. Our hero was very surprised by such power because it was a completely different level from what he had seen in the game. However, there was another advantage in it all. He can now tell everyone that he is a lightning mage. Our hero went up to the roof where he had just thundered and saw the ruins. The impact was truly enormous. He looked around and wanted to catch his breath, because it was still very difficult for him to use magic of this type and in such quantity. He tried to find the body of the sniper, but it seemed that he had disappeared. He understood that he was definitely an unusual person, but it did not make any sense to follow him any further. Our hero thought that this performance would be enough to let everybody know that it was not worth prying into our hero after all. The only thing he wants is to have his fake name band spread all over the city as a man who has the magic of lightning. Our hero had already returned to the establishment incredibly shabby. All the drunken onlookers were looking at him with surprise, and the old man was very disappointed because it was possible to enter through the back entrance in order to show up with the corpses. The old man asked him to enter through the back entrance, but he would deal with his aim later. The old man and our hero were already standing in some strange room. The old man taught our hero that if he comes for work, he asks to enter this room and through this door from now on. But the old man thinks it is his fault, that he forgot to tell our hero he must be too old. The old man asked to wait for our hero because he would have finished his order soon, but our hero did not hurry him at all. The old man opened the bag with the body and found out that the target of our hero had died from a firearm and that man had not been killed. By magic, he could definitely say that it was their target. Our hero listened to the old man and asked if he was a pathologist. The old man did not want to answer that question, so he blurted it out. He asked our hero if he wanted his 2.7 million cell award now without any commission. Or does our hero want his money some other way? Our hero didn't understand what other ways the old man was talking about, so he explained that he could put it into a fake account or in the form of shares. He said that there are cases when it is difficult to ask for money laundering. Our hero was surprised by all of this because all financial laws in the Balkans work the same way as in the real world. But at this moment, Jenny came in, who was very surprised by the speed of our hero. She even laughed a little, saying that our hero really needed such fast money. She said she was joking, as usually you have, to spend more time on searching than killing, so she wondered what was our hero's secret. After all, he was able to find his target incredibly fast, even for her, our hero. did not answer that question, so he just said that he was very lucky. Jenny did not ask anything, though she understood that it was all a lie. So she just told him that they had. Noticed our hero was talented and that they were going to work with him permanently. Our hero immediately expressed his desire to work more, so he certainly wouldn't mind more assignments, but Jenny answered that it will not be. So now, in fact, they have other cares now. They should pass everything to Achilles, and also learn what cleaners do. She wanted to say something else, but our hero asked her if they did not trust him. Jenny answered that even if they are on the same wavelength to earn full confidence, they need time. To her, it even resembled going on a date. Our hero had suspected that something was wrong, but he did not care about that and decided that it was time to leave. As soon as our hero came out, the bearded man approached Jenny and told her that by looking through the janitorial networks he had, found out how our hero had worked. Jeggy took the tablet in her hands and was surprised at the picture on it. And our hero had not wasted much time, so he went to the nearest library to learn more about the magic system of his new world. He decided that he should find out as soon as possible how to prolong the life of his character, and more precisely he himself, for through his skills he had also received the punishment, the life force which flows away like water. Our hero was thinking about magic connected with the time and expected to find some information about higher magic. Going to the reading room, he took some books with him where there were detailed descriptions of spells in their applications. Our hero began to read and check everything on himself. He began to change the structure of mana and to look through it. Our hero could not understand how strong the archimages are that can change it. He decided at this moment to release some mana from his body, and he noticed that the pad pattern on his hand changed depending on the quantity of mana he put into it. Our hero did not know what his level was, but he was able to change the mana structures, and he was very happy about it. Our hero has read everything he took from the library and was a little upset because everything he had read was different from his concepts, and his concepts changed instantly. He had read that magic art can be divided into two categories, unusual and unique. Unique magic is the magic that each magician can learn, but it is more specialized and powerful, and here, ordinary magic is inferior to the unique magic. But at the same time, it has an extremely wide variation of application, regardless of the attributes and goals. At least that's how it was in World 2.0 of our hero. Our hero could not understand why he could use ordinary magic, even though there was no mention of it, because no matter how talented his character was, he still could not change the very concept of magic and create something that was not written. After reading all the books, our hero had more questions, and he could not find any information about magic related to time. One girl came to our hero and asked him if he was not going to give up, and most likely our hero was going to become a magician. That's what she thought. Our hero could not understand what she meant, but the girl kept saying something about suffering and hope. Our hero didn't understand anything. Why was she bothering him? But the girl just thought that our hero wanted to become a magician by reading books, but he did not succeed. She also said that it was too late to try at his age. It was better to study magical engineering. In fact, to become a magician is possible only after entering a school or a university, and it will be impossible to enter the same university just without a base. But even if he is lucky and he will pass sitting in on lectures, will not give him anything. He will not be able to do anything just because he is self-taught. After all, magic is the field where talent and luck are decisive. But even if our hero had a will, nothing worthwhile would come of it. She turned back to where our hero was attentively listening. To her, she was shy because she had not understood why she had started to tell our hero everything. She only said that the library will be closed soon, so she has to put all books away and our hero to go away. Our hero was sitting at the table and asked her if she said everything from her own experience. She was very surprised, and our hero went on to say that even if she was a student, it was too early to give up because one must try all possible options, but certainly not give up. Our hero was going to leave, but the girl came up to him and gave him her card. She said that if he comes next time, she will show some magic. Our hero did not understand why she thought him strange. She was much stranger than he. But after looking at the map, he noticed that it had the name of the university, and the girl herself was called Professor Eris Richland. Our hero was walking down the street and could not believe that such a young woman could already be a professor, and she looked younger than he did. Having looked at the window which could reflect the face of our hero, he decided that now was the right time to buy some groceries. He went to the bazaar where the trade was boiling. All around made it clear to our hero that if he would cook for himself, it would be better for his body. At this moment, he was distracted from his thoughts by the policeman who asked everyone in the bazaar to put his finger to check his identity card. Our hero is alarmed by all this. He decided to calm down because he was not the one they were looking for. At that moment, someone called our hero again. It was a woman who asked him if he was doing something illegal. She deduced this because he had kept watch at the mana sample check. It seemed to her that our hero was involved in something. Our hero understood that in his new world, mana is like a fingerprint because people use it to check people. The girl asked him why he had come. Our hero immediately remembered that he had almost passed by the right shop thinking about completely different things. Hey, asked the girl if she was new, because before she had been sitting there quite a different woman, but the girl answered that she was her employee and that she herself was the owner of the shop. Hey, even said that she must be very rich. The girl answered in her own manner. Our hero could not understand if she was joking or not, but her appearance hurt him. The girl asked him if he would like to take anything, but our hero did not even know what to take. The girl immediately gave him an onion, saying that it was a special kind that helps to cure insomnia. She thought that's what our hero needed. Our hero thought that if it came to that, he asked her to put some more pepper and onions in his back. But at a moment, the girl asked him what such a magician was doing here, because he had very unusual magic, and she had not seen him in Balkan before. Our hero was very worried, because she reeked of an unusual aura. He did not understand who the girl was and how she had understood that he was a magician, but she calmed down and gave him a bag with onions. Our hero gave her money and went back to his side. Our hero could not understand how she was able to see his mana structure. After all, even a policeman would need specialized equipment to see it, and she has enough ordinary eyes. He thought that either she had strong skills or she was a very talented magician, but our hero liked neither of them. Our hero was scared because almost anyone could find out about his mana too. He decided he had to do something about it after all. It was after that day that our hero began to spend all his free time in his room, studying magic. He did all this just to increase the effectiveness of his usual magic, which he already possessed. However, even with so much study, he couldn't find the key to his unique magic, and the situation was only getting worse. Our hero was addicted to medicines, and he needed more and more each time. He needed better drugs, and for that, he needed an ID. Our hero went to Jenny to get it, but she didn't understand who our hero thought she was. But she said that if he wanted to do it, it wouldn't be very cheap. Our hero was looking, hopefully, at the old man with all his appearance, asking him how much money he needed. Jenny answered that the service would cost about 20 million herrings. However, she asked not to worry our hero about it because she had just found a job for him. She had recently realized that there were many things that our hero could do with the help of his magic. Our hero was ready to accept the order, So Jenny began by saying that the order was from a company, and that can only mean that our hero can get more money than for a simple hunter job. Although she understood that our hero prefers hunting when it comes to a large sum of money. It is better to take orders from companies, and our hero probably does not even like to chase crazy criminals. To conduct this conversation, Jenny asked our hero to go into a separate room. She told him the purpose of the assignment, the new cosmetic factory from Charlotte in District 42. She said that 80% of the construction cost was financed by the state, so she found it all very dramatic because everything they made there was immediately used on people. She said that the factory could produce anti-aging drugs, and it could even regenerate dead cells. There is even evidence that during the experiments, people were skinned alive and the producers did not care about almost anything except profit. Our hero was very interested in everything, but he asked, what else is needed, because the case already seems to be solved. Jenny immediately said that the problem was that Charlotte hadn't taken away their factories, because the company had managed to involve many important people, so they didn't care about the rumors. But the customer of our hero is the Varets Corporation. They too have recently become involved in the cosmetics business and wanted to remove Charlotte. So they have two conditions for work. The first is that after infiltration they will pay $350 million for stealing data on cosmetics from the factory. But if this option does not please our hero, there is a second one. They will pay $50 million for the destruction of the whole factory without the possibility of rebuilding it. Our hero is thinking that the first task sounds a bit impossible, which Jenny immediately confirmed. She might even think that the customer just didn't want to pay more. She stretched and laughed because she could not believe that anyone would buy it, because it was almost like a request for the destruction of the factory. Our hero immediately replied that he would do it, because everything seemed very simple to him. Jenny was pleased, so she immediately told our hero that she would introduce him to his new partner. Our hero started to get nervous because nobody had told him about his partner, but it was already very late because a strange man in a suit had come to them. At first sight, our hero thought that some fool was standing in front of him, but Jenny said that his name was Dylan. He was a mercenary associated with Antares, and he is known for his willingness to work for small sums. Dylan asked Jenny why she introduced him in such a way as our hero could think that he was some fool. At that moment, our hero got up from his seat and went over to shake hands with Dylan, though they looked friendly. Our hero asked Jenny why he needed a partner, but Jenny just thought that task would be quite difficult, so she thought that it would be quite difficult to do it alone. Dylan started to say that he could have done it on his own, but Jenny made him do it. He looked at Jenny, but she was very angry because she did not like that Dylan said so much unnecessary. Our hero agreed to work with someone, but he thought it would have been better if he had known in advance that he would have to work with someone. Our hero asked how they would share everything. Jenny answered that they would share everything between each other because this time she had made a mistake. While Dylan was pestering her, saying that he did not know that he could do that, our hero was also surprised that Jenny's quick acceptance of his mistake. Dylan immediately grabbed Jenny and began to pull his mask, but our hero thought that most likely she did not make such a mistake for nothing. Most likely she wanted to probe him. But our hero was not very upset. In fact, any time he could have left her. When Jenny had finished beating Dylan, she suggested that the boys see the plan of the factory. She began to show the plan and talked about how, unlike the 50-plus neighborhoods, the neighborhoods 40 and under had better infrastructure, but even so, all the neighborhoods in their city were pretty well-equipped and equipped. The factory, on the other hand, is in good condition and located in the 42nd district. While our hero was thinking that the street was empty, Dylan was asking all kinds of questions to our hero. He also told our hero that Jenny respected him very much because she could never give up money, like that she always took an interest from the workers, and now she wouldn't. Hay said that she just wanted to maintain their relationship. Our hero understood that he was listening to their conversation in the bar, but Dylan was sad at that time because Jenny would never do that to him. Our hero wondered why he wore a mask, maybe so that nobody would recognize him. But at that moment, Dylan handed him a business card saying that he did not have to work in the same place. Our hero took it and asked if he was gaining confidence in him. Dylan did not hide anything, saying that now it is almost impossible to find good magicians, and in his agency there are many people with whom it would be possible to work. But at the end, Dylan asked our hero to keep their dialogue from Jenny. Our hero smiled and said that he was scratching his tongue very well, but we would like to see how this Deadpool works in action. Our hero stands somewhere on the roof and surveys the area. He understands that the guards are nothing and it looks too fragile. But Dylan says that this is how it should be because you have to be crazy to break into Charlotte's. Hay wouldn't have even looked in their direction if the Varitz Corporation hadn't given them a mission. But there is something unusual about these guards, or more precisely, that they are all 888 guards. They are former thugs compared to the other guards they are, not even considered to be human. So they can even be killed without feeling the torment of conscience. Our hero decided that it was time to go, but Dylan asked him if he was going on a mission with an open mind. So Dylan had another mask, which he gladly gave to our hero. Our hero was disappointed that he was offered such a ridiculous and ugly mask. So he just went ahead. Our hero decided that it would be better to make a mask out of his clothes than to put that ugly one on him. He put the mask on himself, and now they were ready to go on the mission. The strategy of our heroes was simple. While Dylan distracted the enemies, our hero would enter through the warehouse, penetrate inside, and destroy everything at once. Although it may seem a simple task to many, if he has to risk something, he will use Dylan. Dylan, on the orders of our hero, immediately went into battle at an incredible speed. The guards could not see him because he was incredibly fast. He knocked out 2 guards and was already cutting our hero. But he noticed the truck with a man on it and called for reinforcements over the radio. Dylan crept up on him at once, scaring the man. Our hero had seen the picture. He understood that he need not worry about Dylan and that the people Jenny was picking up were good. Our hero had accepted the Viper and went on a mission by himself. He faced a door that was locked, so he decided to use the same torch that he had found with the bandits. He was glad because at last he could use it. When he opened the door, there was a man standing in front of him asking him to put his hands up. Our hero noticed that it was an ordinary guard, so he decided not to kill him, but simply to put him to sleep. He decided that it was not worth getting involved in his business by ordinary civilians, so he simply used the puppet ability on him and escorted him out. Our hero went further and saw the stairs. He thought he was going in the right direction while Dylan was distracting him. He even expected that everything would go very smoothly, but he did not expect that. While the guards were dealing with Dylan, he was already quite tired because he felt that there were more guards than he could have expected. He went into a room that was empty. He wondered if all had gone to look for his friend Bam. But when he looked more closely, he saw that there were sights pointed at him. He realized that moment that he had gotten into a bad situation because he was surrounded by many guards with rifles. Many might have wilted or begged them to put their guns down, but not Dylan. The whole situation amused him. He liked the fact that everyone was gathered there beside him. The guards were shouting at him to fall face down on the floor because if he didn't, they would shoot him. But Dylan liked it because if he could get rid of the guards, or rather distract them all, then he would fulfill his part of the deal. He took out his small dagger and began to rush furiously from side to side, killing everyone on his way. Dylan was elusive, Not a single bullet could hit him. After he'd taken them all out, he wanted only one thing: his next opponent. Our hero, who at this time was walking through a dungeon, was just looking around. He found a valve, which he immediately wanted to start turning. He knew that companies like this had a gas system, and all the gas that was stored in the factory would be enough to blow everything up. He was able to unscrew the valve with great effort, so that only a little spark was left to start the chemistry. Our hero raised his hands and started to create a flame. He knew that the flame was not difficult to create because he would be using quite ordinary elemental magic. Hay thought about the fact that he should still think that very girl in the vegetable shop, because after meeting her, he had worked on changing and improving elemental magic. So only thanks to her he had learned that he could combine simple spells. He was creating his new spell. Timer, our hero set it for exactly 5 minutes, so that when that time expired, everything would run its course. Our hero and Dylan began to hear strange noises coming from the gate. At that moment, a lizard stood in front of Dylan, asking him if he had made such a mess there. Our hero was also worried about Dylan, so he too had to come out to him. He looked out of the corner and couldn't figure out what was in the gate. A pear, apparently. It was not just a lizard that looked like a crocodile, but an old acquaintance of Dylan. The crocodile had asked him how he was doing and so on, but Dylan had answered that he should not worry, because he and Andreas were fine. Crocodile, on the other hand, was not sure that they would be able to open a business and develop it on their own, but he nevertheless praised his old acquaintances that their talent had not gone to waste. Dylan replied that it was only because his boss was an innovator in his business. Crocodile laughed and asked Dylan if he realized what a shitty situation he was in. Dylan was now interested in only one thing: how much did the crocodile get paid to come and kill him? But apparently the answer of 10 million didn't suit Dylan. He was very upset. The crocodile said that he was about to start, but Dylan asked him to give him the same bag that was at the crocodile's feet. The crocodile did not understand what it was all about. But when Dylan got the bag and took out the spear, he told him that the crocodile would not laugh now. The crocodile did not hesitate, so he sent Dylan flying and wondered what that meant. But after thinking and remembering, he realized that Dylan had always been stupid and talked a lot. Dylan thought that today he just had no luck, so he took out of his bag another weapon. He decided to rush to the crocodile battle and give it his all. But after that, he failed. And then another in another. Our hero was still watching the whole thing from the corner. Our hero didn't know what to do because Dylan wanted to beat the crocodile by brute force. But there would be an explosion in 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Our hero knew that time was running out, and Dylan had been furiously fighting all the time. He wondered if he could now think of escaping alone. Our hero had realized that the crocodile was much stronger than Dylan, so he decided that now was the right time to take matters into his own hands and do something. The crocodile stood over the already battered Dylan and told him that he was disappointed in him because he was definitely different before. He didn't even have the same bloodthirstiness that he had at their first meeting, but he didn't even have the bloodthirstiness that he had when they first met. Dylan got up from the floor and said the opposite of what the crocodile had said. He said that the crocodile was getting stronger year after year. Dylan reached into his belt and took out his 2 daggers. He had a strange aura about him. He asked if the crocodile could feel his old aura. Dylan went with all his speed at the crocodile, but now for some reason the crocodile could not keep up with the Red's movements. Villain knew that now he had to get even faster. The crocodile, who was just laughing at his blows, had already caught him and almost struck him. But our hero intervened, who used magic to bind the crocodile. Dylan was surprised at the appearance of our hero, but he became serious again in a moment. The crocodile immediately tried to free himself from the electric fetters. But Dylan began his attack too. The crocodile just started to ignore the electricity and then grabbed Dylan by the throat. He asked him why he had not told him about the magician. It would have been more interesting from the beginning. The crocodile liked our hero's tricks. While he was holding Dylan, he told him that when he had finished with him, he would go after our hero. He raised his fist and punched Dylan in the face with such a force that he flew out through 2 walls. The crocodile was looking for our hero, but our hero thought that the crocodile was really strong because its lightning can melt steel. But the crocodile kept ignoring it. Our hero understood that the winner had already been chosen, so he only had to find Dylan. Throwing outside, he found Dylan, who was definitely not in the best condition. He wondered how to take him with him. Our hero had decided to use what he did not want to use. But the situation had simply gotten out of control. So even though he depended on the mana, he began to increase his strength and speed. Our hero only cared about the fact that now the factory behind them was about to blow up. The crocodile, in his turn, was still looking for our hero mage. But at one moment he smelled something strange. At that moment, our hero's timer sounded for 5 minutes, and the factory blew up. Our hero and Dylan were lying on the ground, covered by an energy shield that had been created by our hero from the explosion. Dylan complained because he felt as if every bone was broken. Our hero asked Dylan if he could go because he could not help him now. Our hero sat down and took out a whipper. Villain had noticed that and asked him how he felt about them, as many people suffer from them because of the side effects. But it seems that our hero doesn't really care. Our hero said that they made it even, though that crocodile was strong. He praises Dylan because apparently he is almost as strong as the monster. Dylan did not understand what our hero was talking about and simply did not want to hear more about the crocodile. So he simply took our hero's words as a compliment. Dylan decided not to hesitate and began to rush our hero to leave the place because if he did not want to die, they would have to leave quickly. Our hero asked Dylan if he thought that the crocodile was alive. However, Dylan couldn't understand where our hero had been growing all the time because Dylan was sure that the crocodile was alive. Apparently, the crocodile was a very important and powerful person. We see how the toothy one rose from the wreckage, almost unharmed. He was very angry, and Dylan went on with his story, saying that the crocodile had once been a military mercenary, but when he gave it up, he became the head of the Pandemonium. Pandemonium is a well-known and global organization where they invite only the most dangerous criminals, and this crocodile was able to head it, and without any problems. Our hero could not believe that he was the head there. But the happiness of our heroes that they remained alive was interfered with by Croven himself, who was already stand nearby. Dylan began to run away at once and shout about it to our hero. But to all appearances, Croven didn't want to let our heroes go, and with a single jump, he split them both in 2. Our hero realized that even though in this world you can strengthen your body with matter, the power of cross and crosses all boundaries of reasonableness. Kraken did not understand one thing. How can our hero with such a body be a mage, and our hero looks too young? Our hero realized that now they will not be able to escape. But after looking at Dylan, he realized that he is still alive. Our hero also understood that if he accepts the fight with Kraken, he will have to finish it very quickly because time plays against our hero. Kraken came up to our hero and asked if he had used electric magic. He even joked that it was very impolite to tie someone up, but our hero was able to answer. He said, "It is possible if your opponent is not human." Kraken laughed a lot and even said that he would have spared our hero if he had not blown up the factory. But Kraken needs the money too much, so he tells our hero that he will kill him very quickly. Our hero sees that Krogan's paw is flying at him, so he uses his gravity binding ability. Carlson's body began to be covered by a strange matter, he really liked our hero's trick, and our hero explained to him that the heavier the target, the better his ability to restrain his movements, so it will be quite difficult for Croson to get out of it. Procken liked it, so he even wanted to check it. Out he made the first movement, after which the matter began to tear. Our hero, noticing this, began to use his spell more and more. Kraken could not understand what kind of tricks our hero was using and what for. He would get out sooner or later anyway. He had a lot more to say, but our hero had cast a spell over his mouth as well. Our hero understood that it would not last long, so he had to think of something and use his remaining mono wisely. Broken, on the other hand, began to free himself from the remaining threads that were binding him. He told our hero that he would tear him apart, but our hero cannot allow that, because when his life is threatened, he intends to release all his energy. Kraken was watching everything and wanted to know how it would end this time. An unbelievable aura gathered around our hero, so Kraken didn't want to give our hero a chance to use this skill. At that moment, the cast of our hero's ability ended, and he was able to use the ice. Captivity. He was able to freeze Kraken in a block. Our hero felt very tired, and apparently he overdid it. Because even Dylan was in the snow, he was cold, but fortunately he was alive. Our hero went to him and said he was cold because of the costume. But enough of Dylan's jokes. He asks our hero to leave as soon as possible before Kraken gets out. However, at the same moment, the ice began to crack. Dylan asked our hero to do something because he would have gotten out soon. Our hero knew that his mana was running out, so he could only think of one thing to do: to use ordinary magic, which enhances ranged weapons. It was the type of magic he could use with a small amount of magic. Our hero remembered his previous experience in World 2.0 when he played as a shooter. He used a combination of attacking magic. Then, first, he enchanted his gun and bullets, giving them armor-piercing and speed. He knew that his gun might not be able to withstand the mana, but it didn't really matter in any case. Our hero thought that would be the end. He took aim with another of his abilities at Kraken's head and fired. The bullet went straight out of the gun, and when it hit Kraken, he flew away. Dylan could not have imagined that our hero would use a gun in battle, but even he thought that they should be gone by now, because our hero had no strength left either. But unfortunately, Kraken was alive, and moreover, he was not harmed in any way. The only thing we could see was that our hero had a bullet lodge right in his eye. Our hero realized that it was very bad because Kraken could just catch the bullet with his eyelid, and our hero used many things for this shot just to charm this bullet. Our hero said so that this reptile just makes him frown. Kraken liked what our hero said about him, but he didn't even consider himself human. But it seems that he did not catch that bullet completely because it still hit his eye a little bit. Our hero tried to see how much mana he had left, but he had none left. The only thing he could reach now was the laser cutter. Kraken was very angry because he did not understand why they were trying, and he was offering them a quick death. Our hero looked up into the sky and saw Croaking flying at him. He asked himself, is this how he will die? When the Kraken landed, our hero surprisingly did not die. Above him stood some girl who had the color of her monogreen. Our hero couldn't understand who this woman standing above him was, but Kraken was even more fed up with the fight because he realized that he was wasting his time. He asked the girl if she was the mud of the city government, Evelyn, but the only thing Evelyn had said was that Kraken had definitely crossed the line this time. She said that he couldn't just blow up the factory with impunity. Kraken didn't understand. It wasn't him. But Evelyn went on to say that she thought that Pandemonium would lay low for a while. But why did he blow up the factory? Kraken immediately started to justify himself by saying that it was not him. And then he pointed at our heroes, saying that they did it. Evelyn did not believe Kraken because no, one in such a twisted mask would blow up the factory. Kraken didn't like the fact that it was so easy for her to pin it on him, rather than assume that it was those two who had caused it. Kraken asked her to think what she wanted, but Evelyn wouldn't let him go. Kraken just wanted to leave because fighting a government age agent was not part of his contract, so he saw no point in doing something he wasn't paid to do. Our hero stood up and looked at the girl he did not understand. How strong she had to be. So Kraken did not want to get involved with her. Evelyn, without turning around, asked the boys if they were all right. Dylan was about to melt in tenderness, but Evelyn asked him not to do that because it was her duty. When the girl took off her mask, our hero saw in her the very girl who was selling him vegetables. She gave her hand to our hero, but he wanted to get up himself. She asked him if they had met before because the face of our hero seemed very familiar to her. But our hero did not want to tell the truth because it was obvious to him that she was not simple, but he did not think that she would work. For the government, that means she was not lying about being rich. She turned around and started to leave, saying that she was mistaken because our hero's mana pattern was different from someone else's. Our hero had remembered that his mana pattern was not very usual, and he did not think that he would use her advice at their next meeting because he changes his mana pattern every time he uses magic. But when she left and put on her mask, she said only that our hero or someone else should not contact Pandemonium if they want to survive. After these words, she soared into the air. Dylan had pointed out that they were very lucky, but our hero had only said that he would have to give up part of his fee. He understood that he was too blamed for it, because if he had not organized a fight club and had left the factory earlier, nothing would have happened. He was the one who bought them time in the fight, and Dylan was just talking about luck. Dylan, in his turn, wasn't a bit upset because it was our hero who saved his life, so he would only take 10 million, so our hero would get the whole 40 million. Our hero thinks that even if he gets a part of his share, he will still feel as if he has been. Our hero, immediately after completing their assignment, smoked another Viper. Dylan noticed this and said that it's very bad for our hero. He even advised to pump muscles like his. But our hero said that his muscles didn't really help, and it's none of his business. Our hero came home. He could barely make it to bed. He realized that a whole week had gone by, but he didn't know if it was because of lack of mana or because he had overdone the Viper. But he had slept for four days. He realized that this would not help, and that he needed willpower and patience. He even thought that now would be a good time to find better medicines and food. The first thing he decided to do was to get his salary, because how could he manage without money? He went straight to Jenny's house, and she welcomed him with open arms. She asked him where he had been for so long. Our hero said the usual, or rather just lied, saying that he had a personal matter. Jenny made a joke saying that if our hero had died, she would have surely taken all the reward for herself. But our hero asked her to notice that he was sitting next to her, so he would like to get the award too. Our hero understood that because of the side effects and the lack of mana, he really felt that he was about to die. But all this information is not worth knowing. Jenny, our hero asked her what happened to Dylan. So Jenny answered that he wanted to give a part of his money to our hero, and Jenny took a commission from him for the transfer, so our hero should not worry. And here, the company that ordered our heroes even gave him a bonus 60 million herrings. Our hero was looking at the band notes and could not believe that in front of him there were band notes, each one for 1 million. Jenny explained that they look so strange because they were made for the elite, but they could also be used to pay with them. In any case, she says that our heroes did a good job, and she even heard that they had a fight with Kraken. Power Hero answered that they would have, and that he could have died if it had not been for the hero. He asked Jenny if she knew anything about Evelyn, but after thinking about it, all she knew was that she was a representative of the government and that she was part of an armed unit run directly by the government, and that meant that their funding was pretty up. Then our hero asked another question. He asked about the pandemonium. Jenny immediately answered that among all the criminal groups, it was considered almost the most elite. The crime kings, that's what they are, and they have a very strict selection and recruit only those who they like very much so about the group. Almost nothing is known. Jenny only knows that Croken is a member there, so she asked our hero to represent the meeting with the crocodile as a natural disaster. So if someone is unlucky, he will definitely die or else get out. And it's good if in one piece, as it was with our hero's Procken is bad, no one knows what will happen after meet him. Jenny, while our hero was thinking about something, handed him a piece of paper. She said that if our hero wanted an identity card, she would call some people, so she asked him to go to them as soon as possible. But she was really shouting at him, because how could our hero not open a bank account? In fact, does he know how hard it is to collect huge amounts of cash that he receives as a reward? Our hero thanked her for that, but he still had one more request. We see that our hero, having changed his appearance, went into a strange room where a bald man was sitting at a computer. Our hero said that it was Jenny who had asked him to come to him. He smiled because she had told exactly about our hero. She wanted to get right to the point because our heroes seemed to know what was required of him. He asked to start with the payment, so our hero immediately gave him the 20 million. The bald man immediately started sniffing those $1 million bills because only important people had them before, and even commercial banks could hardly get them. He even thought that our hero was truly an important client for Jenny, that she had made it to him just for his own convenience. The bald man asked us to wait for our hero because he now had to bypass the Balkan registration network. Our hero asked how he was doing all this. Was he changing the information in the network? But the bald man answered that it is not like that at all, because he only changes the basic data, age, photo, and address, but he does not change the real data. In fact, he only works with the automatic incoming signals, in effect forming his own identity. This is how an ID is created. But if a little digging is done, our hero will be found out in no time. Our hero was told that all this is not very reliable, but the bald man said that there is a better way, but then he has to bribe the network administrator. But it will cost about 400 mil on this figure made. Our hero very sad, but the bald man had already entered the network and started to do his work. Having finished his entry, he asked our hero what name he wanted. Our hero answered that his name would be Evan, and that he would let the bald one think up his last name. Our hero understood that in order to live in society, he needs at least one personality. But since he does not know when he will have to give up the name, Bane, he changed his appearance and will have to prepare himself for different situations in order to develop in his work. By this point, the bald man had already finished everything too. Our hero was walking down the street and realized that for the first time he held in his hands the proof that he exists in this world. But everything from his face, his address, and his age is a lie. But he himself understands that he is just trying to survive. So that is why he is trying to survive, because there is no other way out. And today he can still feel like a real person. He called Jenny and told her that he had his own phone so that she could contact him with it. Jenny was perplexed because she had warned our hero to contact her only with work, and she even thought that our hero was the first person in her city who had bought the phone in a month. She even compared our hero to a magician who isolates himself in order to go to practice. But she gave advice that if our hero wants to continue working in this sphere, he will have to find a source of income which will be available in broad daylight. She said that it would be very strange to have a jobless man supplementing his account. So the best thing to do now would be to find a job. Our hero understood that he would have to decide everything now, but even he himself has not decided if you will continue to work with Jenny, because he does not understand how it works yet, but it is not a bad idea to get a job. She also said with a smile on her face that rumors about him must spread very quickly, and all because of the recent mission. Even Jenny didn't know if anyone would ask him to do his job. But in the end, she decided to add, saying that with the size of the job, his salary would increase. Our hero hangs up the phone and thinks that even if Jenny becomes friendlier, he will keep his distance because he does not trust her. Our hero is quite sure that she has heard from Dylan that our hero is able to use ice magic, but he is not in a hurry to talk about it. He knows that they both only talk about what interests them. Then we are taken to the very request our hero asked of Jenny. He got a viper and asked her if she knew where he could get one. Jenny looked at him and asked why our hero used such a shitty product all the time. Our hero didn't understand what she was talking about, so she explained that there are side effects from every use. So she asked our hero to wait a bit because she knows someone who is a viper and lives in the 30s. She also said that the atmosphere there is much different than in the 40s. The parks, the ports, the recreation areas need a lot of territory, so she asks him to go to the 31st district. Our hero was surprised because all she did was answer the question. She didn't even ask him anything. She didn't even offer to discuss it. Could it be that she was afraid of our hero? Or maybe she just wanted to keep her secrets to herself. Our hero understood that he would be unable to find out anything unless he uncovered his secrets. But he had no intention of just sitting and waiting. Our hero was standing in the middle of the street when he arrived by car to the place he had been assigned to, and he could only think of the man who was selling vipers in the botanical garden. But as Jenny had informed him about that place, our hero should introduce himself as Van. Changing his face, our hero entered this garden and compared it to a real jungle. There were too many strange plants. He wondered whether such a place existed in the Balkans. Our hero wondered if this was the place Jenny had told him about. He saw a door which seemed to be a store. Then, as he had seen, he entered another doctor, which led to a basement where he could smell something strange. The smell? Mel reminded him of his viper, but it was different. Our hero opened the door and found himself in a room full of smoke and a strange smell. The salesman asked our hero who he was. Our hero introduced himself as the man from Jenny, but the old man, who had a strange green crystal in his eye, could not remember allowing anyone to send anyone to him. But after asking himself, the old man replied that he was a little confused because he should not even refuse his new clients. He thought that he should only receive money from customers. So there was nothing wrong with that. He looked intently at our hero and asked what he wanted in his garden. But our hero didn't want to get down to business. So he asked the old man, what is his garden doing in? A real garden. He picked up a plant and asked him if he knew what he was holding. Our hero didn't know what it was because he had never seen anything like that in his life, and the old man said that this plant is called ionium. It is able to increase a person's energy, physical data, and endurance, and there are a lot of such flowers in this garden. The old man smiled widely and crazily and asked our hero why he should not conduct his business here in the botanical garden. Our hero listened to the old man and immediately asked him for a favor. He left his whipper in his clothes and let the old man have it. He asked for something similar, Sarek. After examining it and even tasting it, just spit it out. He could not understand why our hero had used such crap, and he even thought that it did more harm than good. Our hero answered that it was helping him to restore his mana, so the old man, after taking a closer look at our hero also, said that he didn't really look like a warrior barbarian. Our hero answered that he is a mage, and the old man said that it's too bad, because if our hero was a fighter who increases his physical abilities, Viper would help to strengthen his body, but such a low-grade and cheap Viper doesn't suit a mage. Old man even told our hero that there is a rumor that if a high-level mage use his Viper, he will increase his abilities. But this is just a rumor, so even he doesn't want to take the responsibility to confirm his words, and our hero looks too young to use high-level magic. The old man wondered if magic required hard work or something like that. Our hero thought that that was the reason why he could help our hero so much, but it would be much better to have something better instead of the cheap stuff he had used so far. The old man threw away the whipper of our hero, saying that such nonsense helps little and spoils his body, so they should buy something better. Our hero went straight to the old man and told him that he was looking for something more effective, but with fewer side effects. The old man only asked the budget of our hero when he saw two $1 million bills on his desk. The old man's eyes lit up, so he went in search of something good. At the same time in the bar, Jenny was in agony because she could not believe Dylan's words about our hero. Even she had noticed that Dylan was too anxious. However, the old man was more worried that our hero had tried to save Dylan instead of just running away, like the other magicians. But Jenny was also worried that our hero had used ice, magic, but he can also use electricity. She is sure that Dylan could tell the two elements from each other. At that moment it occurred to Jenny that our hero could not only work with the element of lightning. She wondered why he had hidden it from her. But the old man decided to tease her, asking if she was jealous of our hero's skills. But she wondered what it was like to be a man who quickly grasped everything, and skills that's a separate conversation. Trik tried to calm down the stormy thinking of the bar hostess and said that she should not hurry because the only thing they can offer him is a good job. Jenny agreed, so she asked the old man if it would be better to give our hero a job from the companies. But the old man asked if our hero would do it at all after that incident at the factory, because there was a real catastrophe there. Jenny thought about it. She wouldn't even be surprised if our hero ran into Kraken sooner or later. The old man advised to give him tasks about criminals, but Jenny decided that now it was better to pair him up with mercenaries because they were less prominent and were more communicative. Their office will also gladly accept such a magician as our hero because for everyone in their time it is a huge plus. The old man listened to Jenny and noticed her eagerness and told her that he is helping her business at the request of Katza, but he does not even know exactly whether he can keep her safe. He understands that she is strong and independent, but her main disadvantage is that she is incredibly impatient. Jenny made a gesture for him to shut up so that the offended old man went on his way. We can again see our hero and the old man who had already brought his goods. He showed him a new kind of viper which not only stimulates his body for 6 hours, but also increases the magic power and endurance. The side effects are headache cramps, vomiting, even though it is possible to cough with blood. The old man laughs, because even so it will be less harmful than in the past. The old man asked if it would be good for our hero because for his money it was the best option. While our hero was looking at the goods, the old man told him that even these side effects can be reduced, but of course it will cost more, and he sells them only in batches of 10 pieces. Our hero looked at this viper and remembered Calvin and cubs. However, it really pissed the old man off. How dare our hero compare his product with the product of these scoundrels? As our hero even know that they use a lot of chemicals to make their products, our hero listened and even smiled. But our hero had to go now, so he said goodbye to the old man, who seemed to say goodbye to our hero. We can see a strange man who looks at his desk and sees a request for dismissal. He is very upset because he thought that the higher or two mages will deal with him. For a long time in front of us was Dry Crimeber, the leader of the Crimeber Guild. One man says that his captain should have been a lot nicer to his employees. That guy was Wayne, one of the mercenaries, but the captain didn't like his joke, so he hit the table very hard. He started shouting and saying that he didn't even make his mages do complicated things, and the only thing they had to do was to finish the job to clean up just one block. Kettle also had her saying that their work seemed too difficult for such fragile and frail nerds like their mages. But I, another mercenary, thought that the past could not be changed. The captain was not at his best for in order to accomplish their task. He would have to find 2 more mages, but he did not know where to find them. He asked Kitty to do this job, but at that moment, Jenny called the captain himself. She asked him if he needed a mage. The captain immediately perked up and started shouting that he desperately needed one, and not only one. It would be better to have 2 mages. Jenny said that she could provide only one, but asked him not to worry because he needed only one. Our hero stood and looked at his new wizards, and at the same time Jenny was telling on the phone that our hero could not even stand near them in comparison with other wizards whom the captain had met. Our hero is already sitting in his room and meditating, but at one moment he realizes that he should start training to use the barrier technique. He understood that usually he needs to draw a magical circle and then conduct a complex ritual, but it is possible to use the space itself just by concentrating his consciousness. Our hero imagined that he was creating a magic sphere in space, and he also put protective magic on the surface of the sphere. He only thought that even if somebody would go behind, the barrier 14 lightning would strike him, and if we add gravitation magic, it would be even worse. Our hero had done such work, and he was satisfied even if it was not necessary to do it in the hotel, but now he had his own house, so he could prepare himself. Our hero had realized that the first phase was ready, so he wanted to start the second one. But at that moment, Jenny called him and offered him a job. Our hero was ready, so he agreed immediately. He understood that it would not have been possible if he had not had a cell phone, which he had recently bought. He could even watch the news in his city, where the pictures of the Charlotte factory kept popping up. It had said that it was possible that in the 42nd district there would be difficulties with the new production, and all people within a radius of 2 kilometers would be evacuated. But the good news was that no building had been damaged except the factory. A gas leak was found to be the cause of the explosion. Our hero looked at the news and decided that the company Charlotte wanted to make it look like an accident, but he had not been thinking long enough, because he had been paid enough, but he had also done quite well on his own. He liked not to think about any consequences, but there are still things that are beyond his control and that stressed him out a bit. He understood that he had to be careful with companies when dealing with them. Kraken also frightened him, because in the 2 months of his work he had come across such an organization as the Pandemonium. But even if Ranak has great talents for magic, our hero is still not ready to fight such opponents. Our hero understood that the more he would use magic, the higher the chance of surviving the battle. He was looking at the parcel that was lying on his bed and came to the conclusion that it was time to start the second stage of his training. He unpacked the gun and was looking forward to using it. Our hero came to Jenny at the bar, where she began to tell him the details of his new job. She said that everything came from one of the guilds that want to take over the building, so they need a fire support mage. Jenny was eating some snacks and said that he shouldn't worry about payment, as he himself understands that the mage services cost quite a lot. Our hero had seen that it would be with mercenaries, but he could not imagine that it would not be from Antares. Our hero asked for details, so Janine decided to give them to him right away. She began her story by saying that there was a gang who called themselves janitors. They had taken over an office building which was being used to finance a consultancy and were now using it without permission. There, the company was quickly kicked out from working there without even being able to shut down the network, and the management is afraid that all the transaction information will be deleted. People turned to the office of Crime Guild for help, and they in turn took our hero to their share. Our hero decided to ask Jenny if these mercenaries hired by this financial company really want to hire our hero. Jenny answered that it was so, and when our hero asked what firepower meant, she immediately answered that it wasn't so difficult, because such a good magician like our hero only had to attack enemies from the rear. She told us that there are other tasks, but she was interrupted by the information that the story about the mage who came back alive after the battle with Croaking became very popular. However, having come to her senses, Jenny once again told our hero that it would be better for him to go on a mission to Kramer, because they work for money, so they will never cheat our camp. Our hero asked if it often happens that someone cheats for money. Our hero had the obvious answer that there are a lot of shitty people, especially in their town. Some can even cut off an arm or a leg for a bad job, or even all of them. Together, our hero was a little worried because he imagined everything. But Jenny said it easily because she herself just lived on the percentage of the task she was given. Our hero appreciated this kind of joke, so he asked her where he should be in this case. She answered that there was a certain area 53, and he had to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. She would text the core coordinates to him on his phone in the morning. We see the whole Crime crew standing around, waiting and watching the time. One of the mercenaries asked the captain what he thought about the new magician that would come to them now. Crimber immediately answered, saying that he was a lightning mage, and according to Jenny, he was worth his 20 million seals. He was sure because he trusted Jenny. The girl wondered if he had done a lot of research because he knows the magic of lightning, but Kramer did not know our hero personally because he had never met him. At that moment, one of Grimbier's men noticed that someone was coming. Of course, it was our main hero, but everybody could not understand how our hero may be a magician. He certainly did not look like one. Our hero came up and asked them directly if they were the clan of Crimer. Everybody was also surprised that our hero was eating right before the mission, but it didn't seem strange to our hero because he didn't even like the sandwich, but he had to eat something or his body would stop working properly at all. The girl started to throw at our hero, but Kramer stopped her and began to tell our hero that they had paid 20 million for his services, that he hoped that they would not have to regret it. Our hero decided to reassure them because he would definitely do everything in his power. As our hero had arrived, the captain of the entire operation decided to test the plan once again. He took out his notebook and showed them the layout of the buildings. He said that their main and final goal was to normalize the power plant server on the 3rd floor. There are 2 ways to get there, the elevator and the stairs in. Each of these ways there are 3 groups of cleaners. Although the opponents promise to be weak, they are all able to use mana, so he just asks one to let their guard down. The second squad asked to go on the roof with Wayne, as well as get rid of everyone and check if the server is in working order. The 3rd squad will go with the captain and the manic to clear the 1st floor. The 1st squad should enter the 2nd floor through the windows and force all the janitors down the stairs. After that, the second squad has to go down and wait for the other squads from below. Our hero stood aside and listened. It became clear to him that there was nothing difficult at all, and the captain was very calm. Our hero understood that Kremga is a born leader. He told our hero to attack with all his strength from the very beginning, and then to follow the third squad as a support, just keeping in the darkness. After these words, the captain immediately ordered everyone to stand in their original positions. Immediately all the mercenaries began to take up their weapons. Our hero understood that in the world where one can use magic to strengthen his body, the existence of such a powerful weapon of close and far combat does not seem strange anymore. However, all this does not exclude the fact that there are moments when the help of a magician is needed. Everyone knows that in their line of work, a magician plays an incredibly important role. Many janitors stand their ground, and the captain bides his time. He spoke to our hero, saying that it may be unlikely, but their VR guys could also have hired a wizard. So if our hero notices anything the captain asks him to, warn him at once. Our hero had noticed the strange thread under his feet that stretched very far. He had very strange feelings. It seemed to him that this thread was created by magic. Hay understood that someone wants to know how many they are. Our hero decided to take this wire or cord, because this cord has a disadvantage in that it works in two directions and he can find out the location of the enemy by himself. Our hero took this wire and immediately his mana flow found all scavengers. The enemy mage was shocked by this. Our hero was glad, because he knew that if the activated magic was destroyed, then such a flow of magic would accumulate into mana such a thing could not be survived at all. A magician who was on the side of the cleaners immediately began to choke on the blood, and everyone standing nearby was shocked by the picture. Our hero at that moment told the captain that the enemy mage had used a detection spell, but he had already solved it. So he advised the captain to attack at that moment. The captain looked out of the window where the janitors were and could not believe what our hero had said. It was all true. The captain commanded everything and asked to stick to the plan. The mercenaries started throwing smoke bombs and went into action. The cleaners were shocked and already wanted to shoot everyone, and our hero in the midst of the battle decided to try the new whipper which he bought. As soon as our hero pulled in forcefully, his hands were immediately covered with lightning. He remembered the captain's words about the need for maximum fire support from the very beginning of the operation. So the first spell of our hero was a chain, lightning with which he struck all the opponents. Everybody was shocked by the strength of our hero, and the captain had already started to fight again. The captain, who had defeated his enemies, shouted that their line had been broken so that it was possible to continue. All the captain's mercenaries were very strong, so in a way they laughed at their enemies. In addition to skilled warriors in close combat, they also had a gunner, who also shot from the enemy attacks. Kramer and his team had noticed that a squad of reinforcements was approaching them. So now the squad shields had volunteered to help. They stood in front of their captain, shielding him from the shots, and the captain even offered to do their trick. On the count of 3, the shields flew directly at the enemy, which they had not thought they would, but another one came after them. The captain noticed that there was a very strange man among the newcomers, because he was different from the others at that moment. The target of his attention disappeared, and the captain guessed that his target was a magician. The murderer had already crept up to our hero and was pleased with that. He asked if he was a lightning mage, and immediately he was struck. The captain was very concerned about the situation because he thought that our hero was about to die. But our hero took out his gun and shot his attacker. Our hero wasn't even happy that he could defeat someone. He was happy that his new gun could withstand 3 spells. The captain ran to our hero and asked if he was hurt. But our hero seemed to be in one piece, so there was no reason to. Worry the captain was shocked because our hero not only shoots well, but his speed and agility is excellent even though he could not do that. Immediately, the whole team began discussing our hero, because nobody would have thought that our hero, who is a magician, can control weapons. The captain had noticed that and realized that probably he would understand that the price of our hero was more than 20 million. At the same moment, one of the men with the shield said that the way was clear from here, so they should go forward. Each of the squads began to disperse to their places. The first squad began its attack, which ended successfully. Then came the second, and then the captain at the head of the third squad. Once inside, not only the patent and fought merciless, but our hero also finished all those who survived. The captain and our hero had finished the first floor, so the captain asked what happened to the third floor. But Kitty could not talk because they were still under cover. Immediately, everyone heard an explosion which certainly could not give confidence to the whole team. But after a moment, Kitty appeared and said that the second floor was also clean, but it was so long because the last cleaner was hiding, so they had to try hard. The captain immediately decided to go to the third squad and ask about their situation. Our hero, together with the captain, started to move forward again. The captain began to take Jenny's words seriously only now. Kitty came up to him and asked him if their guild could lure our hero to them, but Kremgar answered that they didn't have any money would surprise Kitty. He explained that it would be better if they started investing money in newcomers rather than in a person who works for 4 people. However, Kitty was flying in the clouds with the idea that if our hero worked in the office with them, they would quickly become famous and also get rich. However, he asked them to stop talking and start. The next part of their plan, they asked the third squad if they were okay. But when they asked him, they heard an almost dying voice. The captain went to them at once, and our hero could not keep up with them, for his body was very tired. The captain came to the roof where he saw a very scary sight. All his mercenaries were lying on the ground in blood. They went to Wayne and asked him how he was feeling. The captain was holding him in his arms and asked for medicines or something. He took out a very expensive elixir and started pouring it on Wayne. He didn't care about the price as long as his comrade was alive. Wayne apologized for what had happened, and our hero analyzed the whole situation. He understood that many of the men had not been seriously wounded, but there had been no casualties. Our hero understood only one thing. He understood that the one who had wounded them was still with them, because no one would wound such experienced fighters to such an extent and hide. The captain ordered us to take care of Wayne, while the captain himself would take care of everything. He wondered where the who had beaten up his boys was. But from one of the towers a strange man spoke. He said he was waiting for them, but not for long. Did the captain point his gun at him and asked him if he had just sat there and watched the captain's men die. But that strange man asked a very strange question. He asked if they knew how much money they had invested in the operation. He said that all 3 groups of janitors had joined together to steal the money, and that they had to take over the server that kept the tax information of District 53. They also had to hire dozens of people to do the whole operation. Premier did not understand what he was talking about, how it is possible to steal money that belongs to the state. But the man did not care much, as it was about billions of dollars. So if Kramer did not understand, the man explained. He said that if the power plant in Region 53 was disturbed, there would be loopholes in the protection to go in and out of the cracks created by the government. Is not a bad thing, he said. But Krimrag did not know what to say, because it was certainly not something for a former military man to do. The man said that it had been 3 years since he had left the front, so he should look like an ordinary man. Krimrag told him again that he was wrong, because he should not be attracted by the sight of blood but he did not want to have a body, and he was not interested in any janitors. All that he was doing now was only business. At that moment, the man said that he wouldn't sit there, so he took out something that looked like a bomb and said that some mercenaries would not be able to stop him. Primreg immediately shouted for his comrades and arms to open fire on him or something to stop him. But the man was simply elusive. He jumped off the tower, and everyone saw that he had turned into some kind of monster. Not a single bullet could hit their enemy, but he attacked them mercilessly. The monster asked everyone, holding the dead man on his arm. Why didn't he kill the people who had gone before them first? Because he just wanted to use the power that they see now. He said that for everything he wanted to do, he needed the life energy of others. Our hero remembered that in World 2.0 there were classes that also used such skills. He thought he had a vampire class because it eats human blood. He could even suppose that such magic existed in World 3.0 as well. But he can't even guess if such magic has serious side effects, but it also gives a lot of power. Could it be that this vampire wanted to end them right there? After killing one, the Van Empire said it wasn't enough for him, so he headed for the next target again. However, the girl was protected by a broad man with his shield. But not only the shield was destroyed, but the girl herself was killed. The captain commanded to attack, but the vampire thought only to eat them more quickly. He jumped on his enemies, ripping them in the stomach with his knife, and at the end, he even wanted to attack the captain. The captain was able to defend himself, but he flew away. Just then, Kitty put a bullet in the forehead of the vampire and asked the others to do the same. The vampire didn't seem to care at all, for he thought it was impossible to kill him. He was on his way to Kitty, but our hero used his skills again. He used lightning. He made it so that before his attack, he was able to adjust the damage range and the amount of magic power so as not to hurt the mercenaries as well as the server. Our hero understood that if he noticed her, he had a chance to dodge her, and his next target would be our hero. And so it happened. The vampire immediately flew at our hero, on which the shield was hanging. The vampire started to get worried because if he didn't kill our hero, he would definitely become a problem. He didn't care about the shots from the mercenaries, but our hero took out his revolver and shot the vampire in the chest, but he could not hit him completely, so he had to finish it. Though the body of our hero was fragile, our hero had no right to make a mistake. Our hero also realized that after his recent events, he was not afraid of melee, so he approached the vampire and grabbed him by the neck, shooting lightning bolts into his body. The vampire cried out in pain at first, but at one moment he grabbed hold of our hero, but our hero was not even embarrassed. He continued to send electricity. Our hero was also a bit surprised because a normal person would have died for sure, and his head would have been blown to pieces. Our hero understood that if in his new world there are monsters that can catch bullets with the help of a century, then is there anything that can hit a monster like a vampire? Our hero aimed his revolver at him and immediately shot him through the eye. The vampire was very angry, but he was stopped by the other mercenaries. He was pinned to the ground. The mercenaries asked the captain if they could kill him at all, but the captain was thinking, because with his magical knowledge, it was impossible to know and exactly determine the state of the enemy. So he decided to ask the magician what was so strange about this. Vampire, why was he not getting weaker? Our hero answered that he was using black magic. He understood that the situation is not desperate, but he will have to sacrifice a lot to significantly increase his powers. The vampire eats human flesh or blood as energy, and when it is not enough, he loses his mind. He understood that the psyche of his enemy was unstable, but there was a chance that he would lose the ability to speak and then to block attacks altogether. That's why he left people alive, our hero had even remembered that black magic had more disadvantages than advantages, and there were not many wizards who used it. However, in general, not many people know about black magic, and even less have faced it. The same applies to his troops. However, at this moment our hero had asked his detachment to stop, because he understood that after the battle our hero could not identify his weak point. After the battle it became clear to him. Our hero went up to the vampire and touched him with his hand and tried to take out all of the vampire's mana, all of his black magic. The vampire began to scream, and his whole face began to distort. The vampire, after a short time, immediately collapsed on the floor without strength, and our hero held a clot of black magic in his hands. "Hey," asked the whole squad to destroy the vampire. The group didn't understand what our hero was talking about, but he answered only that they would succeed. Our hero went to the precipice and looked at his hand where the sphere was, spinning. He wondered what he had to do with the blob. He understood that it is not possible to keep the mana under control for a long time. So special containers were created, but he did not have any with him, and he even could not make any. Our hero thought about what if he could save and learn a little more about black magic. But he could not do anything about it, because it was just a pity to keep the mana of vampire was too tiresome, and there was no sense at all. He just let it loose in the air. At that moment, our hero was approached by the same Wayne who asked if our hero was a genius or something else. Our hero didn't understand anything, so Vane explained that he could see that our hero was using mana. It's the first time he's seen someone control him so well, so that made him realize how pathetic he is at magic. Our hero doesn't understand how someone like him could see through our hero's way of dealing with mana. He realized that if the guy wasn't lying, he definitely had an innate ability for mana. Our hero even thought that his talent was not in his fighting skills, but in his mana management. Wayne was about to leave and talked about how our hero was really cool. But at the end, he asked if he would imitate our hero. Would she become the same? Our hero asked if he wanted to be a magician, but Wayne couldn't give a definite answer. After all, he thought that the work of a mercenary was enough. But now he doubts. Yet our hero did not understand what he wanted at all because of his cool abilities. He fights with his body every day, so it simply does not die. It is not for him to teach life to Wayne, because our hero is an outsider and should not give anyone a false hope. He came and put his hand on Wayne's shoulder and said he was a great leader, so he would teach Wayne more than he would our hero. He also said that building and keeping a business afloat was no easy task, but that if he wanted to, he'd have to see Jenny. The captain's party was about to leave, but when he noticed our hero, the captain bowed to him and thanked him. Our hero was sorry to see the people of Crimeburg get hurt, but there was nothing he could do about it. The captain understood that in the business of mercenary, you have to be ready that either you or someone else will be killed. Then the captain went to check the servers, because that was their task. As well, apparently, the servers were also fine. Our hero asked if they could take blood and vampire samples and send Jenny. Cramgar immediately said that if our hero needed it, he would of course do it, and also said that he would transfer the money to him right away because he hadn't been paid yet. He said at the same time that everything had gone to Jenny, so our hero should ask her for the money. Also, Crimrag could not expect that our hero would show himself so well with them. He surpassed all his expectations and showed himself as a real professional. So he asked our hero not to refuse his offers. Our hero left them all, but he was glad to work with them, because Cramgar was a talented leader and a businessman too. Kitty was looking at our hero and asked the captain if he would like to work with them. But the captain laughed, for our hero's strength was certainly not their level. He hadn't even met anyone like that. In addition, he can't even imagine a company that would be able to take our hero on a permanent basis. But he knows for sure that he simply can't afford to pay for the services of this magician. Kitty again began to arise, saying that she could not even think where to find such a person as our hero, and where is the guarantee that he will not be their enemy the next time they meet. But the captain objected, saying that she liked almost anyone they met for the first time, and even if they could hire him, they would be very disappointed if they found out. But he completely agreed with the saying that he did not know where our hero would fight next time. So the only thing left for all of them is just to hope that they all just get lucky. Our hero arrived at the bar where his acquaintance and Jenny were waiting for him. He welcomed our hero as his partner, but our hero asked not to call them that, and he in his turn wants to be popular. Our hero does not understand what it means to be popular. At the same moment, Deadpool said that Jenny was very pleased with his work, but at the same moment he was hit on the head. Jenny asked him not to listen and asked our hero how it went with Crimer's squad. Our hero said that it was much easier than the factories when Kraken was there, and there were no problems with the enemies. Jenny asked if our hero really fought with a retired soldier. If so, that's pretty cool because he was running Area 51. But Deadpool rebelled and started talking about how janitors aren't the weakest people many have, underestimated them and ruined them. Our hero realized that most likely their bosses are strong and you can almost never compare ordinary fighters with their ringleaders, especially those who live in the neighborhood of 20. Jenny asked not to meet them, which made our hero very wary. He realized that if Jenny asked him not to meet with them, it means that they really are very strong. She also asked if our hero knew that many people were talking about him after the last missions. Our hero didn't understand what she was getting at, so Jenny explained to him that there were now an incredible number of people who wanted to hire the Lightning Wizard. Many had to fight to get help from our hero, so at the same moment Jenny pulled out a list of his tasks I do not want to choose. At that moment our hero began to look through a thick book and asked if it was true. And Jenny answered with eyes full of requests to work more, that in fact now he is in great demand. Red was about to object, but Jenny silenced him, and our hero was served a cocktail on the house. Dylan wanted to ask the same thing, but at that very moment, Jenny asked 100,000 herrings for it. Dylan asked why she was treating him this way, but the price of the drink immediately went up to 200,000 cells. When our hero came home, he was sick because the effect of the Viper could not leave him alone, and he had no choice because he would have to give up alcohol in order to reduce the side effect of the Viper. Our hero's body was aching and he wanted to sleep, but he remembered the book with tasks. And also Jenny's words that time is limited, and one task can be chosen only. He looked and saw only very modest tasks, but at one moment he even found something interesting, an invitation from the cleaners. He asked if they were crazy because he had only worked against them, but then he understood that it was a kind of joke from Jenny at one moment. Having looked through all applications, he found only the most interesting and feasible a task from a pharmaceutical company. He remembered that not long ago he had been on their website, and of all products he had put an eye on, the pharmaceutical company Stania produces a first-class elixir called Stimonia with a cost of 100 million rubles. He remembered that this elixir was similar in properties to their last product, and its main effect was to increase stamina. But in any case, our hero was in no position to show off and look for something better because he needed to get hold of something better. He needed hope in order to heal his new body. Hay decided to take the assignment from their company. He even thought that it might be more profitable to cooperate with them than money or something like that, and he hoped that they might be able to give him a cure for his insomnia. While falling asleep, our hero noticed a strange message, that in 2 months' time, a delegation of the Sovereignmos to the Balkans would meet. In a week, our hero had started to hunt for wanted criminals and decided to test the magic on his shooting skills. Checking his skills on criminals, our hero took a little benefit from it, learning that his skills at the moment should be enough until he pumped more serious magic. He understood that the weapon buff just helps him to shoot better, and if he learns a unique magic, auxiliary class, it will help him a lot in battles. But he can't do that yet. Our hero immediately went to a bar. Jenny met him and asked him how he had rested and if he was ready to perform his task with pharmaceuticals. Our hero could not understand how did she know. However, Jenny could already understand which task would catch our hero and which would not. She realized that our hero is not only interested in medicine. Our hero also said that he wanted to work for them. At this point, Jenny asked us to wait for our hero because it seemed that someone from their organization might even come to them. Our hero was approached and asked if Jenny was a new employee of our hero, but our hero only asked if he knew him or not. But the man answered that he was because he was the lightning magician and a lot of people are talking about him now. For example, our hero likes hunting and money. Our hero realized that it is true because recently he had caught many criminals and earned money. But it seems to him that the man is quite strange. But even so, the man said that that was not a bad thing at all, because in the Balkans, people become hunters for 2 reasons. Either out of despair when a person is incredibly pathetic, or he likes the process of hunting and doesn't care that a bullet can fly into his head. Our hero was about to ask for the man's name, but at that moment, the man asked him to calm down and threw him a card which almost flew in our hero's face. He was very frightened, but the card stopped right in front of him. Our hero took the card and the man asked to be called Sebastian, and he does about the same thing as Jenny. Our hero could not understand what it was because he had not even noticed that. He was using magic. He even thought that most likely it was some kind of telekinesis, but Sebastian did not want to tell everything at once, so we gave time for our hero to think, but he did say that rumors that he had been trained abroad were not untrue. But Jenny Cayman was very angry because Sebastian had been pestering our hero and causing him discomfort. He asked to calm down. In fact, he just gave him his Visvika and he came on business, so it was not necessary to scold him for nothing. Jenny was very interested because what business did he come for? But Sebastian handed Jenny a strange paper where it was written about gathering. She was shocked. In fact, she had not expected that the gathering would begin so quickly, and in the announcement it was said that the visit would take more than 2 months. She was very angry that the orders come now, but Sebastian said that this happens rather rarely, and there are even rumors that one of the members of the city council is actively promoting this bill. Our hero looks at the whole situation and understands that they are talking about the news that he had read yesterday before going to bed. He understood that they were talking about a delegation from the Sovereign Philharmonic to the Balkans. He even thought that the city government had issued a separate order for the convocation of private entrepreneurs, and from the expression on Jenny's and Sebastian's faces, he could tell that it was all a very serious problem. Having talked to Jenny, Sebastian stood up to leave, but he gave his hand to our hero and told him that if he wanted to try himself another business, he should not hesitate to call him at any time, and he would pay more for work than Jenny. Jenny called him names, but she did not deny that he was much better at scratching his tongue than she was. She also confirmed what he had said, that if our hero would be working on his own, then he would have to go to him. Our hero wondered if she didn't want to leave him, But Jenny said that many people just leave even if you just ask them to stay. Our hero decided to finish this conversation. So we asked about the task. How is it? Will it happen soon? But Jenny, looking at her telephone, said that soon our hero will be able to see everything with his own eyes. At the same moment, a frail man with glasses entered the bar and asked if this was the bar Jenny was in. Jenny immediately asked the bespectacled man to go to another room because the conversation was not for strangers' ears. Having passed to a strange and, as it seemed, secret room, our hero was very surprised. In fact, even he could not imagine that there was a secret room. However, Jenny has answered that even time was not present. In fact, our hero ran like mad each time as soon as he received the tasks. However, she stopped talking to our hero and went to introduce herself to the bespectacled man. She told him that she was Jenny. The spectacled man introduced himself as Lewin Seiji, the sales manager at Amnek. He didn't have much time, so he got down to business. Since our hero had accepted their assignment, he should probably have seen it by now. Our hero set everything correctly. And we find out that at present Amnek is a small crowdfunding pharmaceutical company, and they are developing neurostabilizers, although the company is full of positive forecasts that after the completion of the development of new profits will increase significantly. The problem is that the district administration, which uses illegal methods in its work, just wants to steal patents on new drugs from pharmaceutical companies, hiring various gangs. Our hero decided what was required of him, so Loon said that they had had the drug for a long time, but they had not received permission to develop it. He was going to send the sample to the intellectual property office before anyone from the district administration found out, but someone had already told him everything. Our hero realized that the essence of his task would most likely be to deal with the rap. Lewin confirmed everything he had said, and also gave the address of the place where the samples of the nude where he asked us to pick them up and bring them to the office the day after tomorrow. He bowed to our hero and was very nervous because it was very important for them all. Our hero looked at him and said that if they wanted his help, they had to tell the truth first. Lewin did not understand what our hero was talking about, and he started to get worried. But our hero asked us to stop this game because he knew that he was lying to him. Our hero asked, "What about the bandits?" And Jenny also said that he had skipped this part because whereas the guarantee that our hero won't run into them. He asked Fluent if it meant that he would just have to sneak him out and send him to the agency. Lewin could not find the words at all, so our hero understood that they just wanted him to solve everything by force, but he still did not understand if they really thought that our hero could beat the bandits and steal the medicine. But Jenny was there, so she suggested that our hero discuss a part of the payment. He asked Lumen how much their boss would pay to the battle mage for this job. Jenny even said that they would wait outside while he decided on the matter. When they went to the bar, they started to say that it was bad enough that he wanted to cheat them. But on the other hand, they could not be stingy with the payment. Our hero asked Jenny if she thought it was a difficult task, but she did not think so because if the administration had hired a gang, it would not be a big one, about 100 people. And in addition, gangs of this type consist of scum with the exception of the leader. Our hero even drew the conclusion that in total he should be paid more. Jenny thought about this too and even said that she would get him at least 10 million more. At that moment, the door of the secret room opened and Juan came out. Jenny gestured to our hero not to worry, so we could see our hero and Lewin in the car. Lewin said that if it was late, he thought that everybody had arrived. Lewin said that they were the people they hired to guard the warehouse. They are outnumbered by the gang, but enough for our hero. Our hero thought that the Amnek surely didn't want to send him alone. But such people probably won't be of any great use. He doesn't even know if they will be of any use. It's more important to know more about the now. Is it worth pressuring Lewin at the same moment? Our protagonist turns to him and says that Jenny said that the company not only offered little, but also lied. Once for sure. Lewin began to say that he had misunderstood. But our hero continued his mental attack, asking if there were any other samples in the warehouse. Lewin said that only the ones that are already on the market, because in the past their boss created this warehouse for his own purposes. Our hero asked what he wanted to know. Do they have drugs like sleeping pills? Lewin immediately answered that they most likely do. Our hero was very happy because he could have used them. They were already approaching Area 54, the warehouse of the pharmaceutical company, where there were many guys waiting for them. Our hero asked Lewin not to get out of the car. Lewin did not understand, but after they asked him if he was from Umdak, and then they started banging on the door. They were not happy because they didn't know that there would only be 10 people. Our hero looked at all this and realized that the only hope was for him. He took the whipper and started to go out. Lewin asked him to wait, but our hero was determined. He was ready to work for his money. Our hero got out of the car, but it didn't get a standing ovation from all sides. On the contrary, many started chasing him away and saying that this was a conversation for men, not for skinny people like our hero. They shouted that they were not hired to fight the gang. Our hero understood that their anger was due to the fact that the company had not agreed on much, but he asked everyone to calm down. The bravest one of the group started to gag our hero, threatening to calm him down in a moment. Our hero was not paying attention because he understood that it was obvious that it was very dangerous to meet a gang of bandits face to face. But the fact that there was a man with fists flying at our hero could not calm him down. Our hero understood that there would be no conversation, so he hit the man with a charge. They calmed down when they saw the magician. This allowed our hero to start talking. He asked why they were upset now. It would be better to spend them on the opponents. Then another man came forward and asked our hero if he was a magician, that it would be interesting. This man turned out to be a magician too, but our hero was not surprised, because if he was here, it could only mean one thing: he had been driven out of the magician's tower for his temper. Our hero looks at him and remembers Sebastian, because it is the second time in one day he has seen a man with superpowers. He saw that he had fire, and his physique was not bad, but if he wanted to use his powers there, then he was not so strong. Our hero asked, what? Will they all do cooperate? Or will they simply burn the car where Lemon is sitting? But the fireboy said that a magician like our hero would only get in the way, so he would kill him right away. Our hero understands that he will not be able to reach an agreement with him, but because of the fact that our hero also has the power, he will be able to solve the problem. The fireball did not understand what our hero is going to do, but our hero began to redirect his magic directly to that very fireball. He knew that not all pyrokinesis people are immune to their own weapons. The fireman screamed in pain as the fire burned him. He screamed that he was wrong. Our hero let him go, but he still felt that his strength was running out, so he could not hold him any longer. While our hero was feeling tired, everybody was rushing from side to side, asking for water to put it out. Our hero looked at Lewin and asked him to leave, because if he had stayed, then nothing would have worked. Lewin immediately obeyed and started to leave. It was already in the warehouse, and our hero thought that when he signed the contract with the company, they had only one condition. He had to send the sample to the intellectual property office, and everything had to be done the day after tomorrow. So our hero had only a day and a half left. According to them, the sample had to be kept somewhere nearby, so our hero had to find it right away. Hey, thought of taking the sample and running away. But he understood that this would not suit anybody. He understood that he had to deal with the bandits too. He found out that they had no plan because many of them invented it on the fly. "Hey," asked how many there were, so if you count the red one. The man answered that there were 15. Our hero immediately ordered them to block the entrance and to divide into 3 groups to patrol the territory. And if one of them notices anything strange, he should inform him. Immediately our hero wanted to talk to them, but he did not want to. So he went to walk all over the territory and look at it. He wondered why they had hidden everything in such a place. Looking at the wall, he realized that it was high but fragile, which was very bad. He used a new ability, the Claymore. It's a magic that makes mines explode and also does significant damage. However, it has a small area of effect. So when there are a lot of opponents, then the effectiveness is lost. So our hero decided to change the approach and start to regulate the pressure. So instead of increasing the power, he will simply expand the area of action. As our hero has succeeded now, comes the next step to install these fields everywhere. At that moment, that aggressive maids ran to our hero, fell down at his feet and decided to apologize for his action. Our hero asked not to worry, so the guy asked how he could redeem himself. Our hero thought that he worries a lot because he must have thought that our hero would kill him after the mission. But our hero couldn't find a better solution than to say that it would give him a chance to become a normal person, and he shouldn't do that if he decided not to cry in front of others. That boy did not understand what our hero's words meant, but our hero only said that they would have guessed, and he would only let the boy show himself because he was the one who would meet them. He said to just hit them all with his firepower, just like he did to him. Our hero sat in the hangar and used vipers because his strength was running out, but there were not many vipers left. He understood that he should not prolong the battle, but even if it happens, he will still have a gun. Our hero would have liked to look at his gun once again, but there was a noise outside. Our hero began to scan the area with his ability so that within a radius of 2 kilometers appeared at once the heads of the enemy gangs. Our hero came out on the street, and one of his guys started pointing and trying to say something, but our hero was already aware of everything. Our hero understood that everybody who came to them was too fast for ordinary people, so either the bandits used magic or they came in cars, which turned out to be true. The guys shouted to get ready because the bandits were already approaching. Our hero looked at the whole situation and understood that if he didn't instill confidence in his guys, then everything would be very sad. Our hero began to go to the first row and told them to guard the entrance because he would take care of the rest. But at that moment, a fiery boy came to the very beginning of the line. Our hero understood that his threats had worked, but he did not understand why the bandit simply stood at the gate. He was about to think that they could come in from the rear, but it was too late because they had already done that. Our hero did not know if they were just trying to break through the walls. However, this only made our hero all the more excited because he knew that they would all be surprised by the claimer there. Immediately, the car that had rammed the wall flew into the air and fell at the feet of our hero. Our hero could not believe that he could enhance his ability so much, but after taking a closer look, he realized that more likely it was the strange fuel that the bandits used which increased the effectiveness of the claymore. Our hero understood that if they sneakily decided to stab him in the back, he would be punished. At the same moment, 2 strange people appeared in front of our hero. They were in smoke, but there was a strange aura in front of them which let our hero understand that he felt their strong aura. Our hero had a glimpse of one of them, and he was a magician. Our hero was surprised because it was the 3rd time he had met a magician today. He had thought that many people were magicians, but this magician had a different feeling. He thought that he was the leader of the band. but he had more and more questions about that magician. He wanted to know as much as possible. But our hero decided to gather himself because now he is on a mission and not reading ordinary manuals. Our hero stretched his nets all over the territory and realized that many bandits were killed, so he decided to ask the bandits how long are they going to stay. While the bandits were discussing their plan, our hero told his men that as soon as the bandits came in, they should close their eyes and just start shooting. The man did not understand what this was all about, but our hero had no time to explain everything to anyone. At this moment, all the guys of our hero had a lively discussion about the order, but there was nothing they could do about it, so that at the same moment all the bandits were blinded and our hero's guys opened fire on them. All the bandits shouted that they were trapped, and those who didn't shout about it shouted in pain because their eyes felt that they were about to explode. They did not understand what was happening, but the fiery boy was already with them. Hey appeared very suddenly and began to inspire fear in all the bandits. Our hero stood aside and understood that if he used magic again, all the bandits would realize that it was his doing, but he only cared about defeating them all right away. Our hero launched a chain. Lightning bolted his enemies, so that a dozen more enemies were defeated. Our hero watched as everyone exchanged shots and bullets, and he wondered if this was enough help for his team. But when he realized that there was nothing for him to do there, he immediately directed his gaze in the direction of the two ringleaders who were also standing aside. At the same time, the two ringleaders were discussing our hero. They did not know that their enemies would have such a good warrior, because they knew that Amnak was not so rich that they could afford a good magician. They had learned from this experience, but they still wondered how they had hired our hero. And who was he anyway? They were interested in the fact that our hero was just standing there smiling at them. Then the razor man came up to our hero and asked if he knew what had happened to the head, but our hero had no way of knowing, for what was more important, the shaved man would not want to look at the whole situation on the field as his subordinates were slowly dying. But the shaved man did not really care about all of them. He considered them garbage. So at that very moment, the shaver suggested to our hero to finish their battles at that moment. He even began to tell a verse, but the magician shut him up. The shaved man asked the magician why he could not have a little chat, because our hero did not look like someone who could withstand their attack. He would have died anyway, but the magician was serious, so he told the Briton that if he did not stop, they would have to consider another job for him. Our hero, after listening to this conversation, realized that the magician is not a part of the gang, and this leader who wants to leave on his own always takes the side that is more profitable. Our hero sighed with relief, because he realized that no matter where he was, people everywhere are the same. His smirk was noticed by a razor he did, not like our hero smiling so broadly as if he was on vacation. He immediately suggested to the magician to finish with our hero as soon as possible. The magician was also for that idea, so he immediately started reeking of me. Our hero looked at the way he was using magic, so it only occurred to him that his character and the flow of his manner and movement created a perfect shield. He understood that he wanted to create the perfect escape route and that he wouldn't be able to just stand still. Our hero immediately shot the shield, which destroyed it. The mage did not like it very much. He was even shocked. But the shaved man laughed, because it seemed to him that our hero did not put them both at all. The magician, as if he lost his temper, shouted at our hero, saying that he was some kind of half-assed magician. He didn't even have the right to block the guy's magic. Our hero, in his turn, with a gun still pointed at him, asked if the word magic user was really an insult. The magician could not find an answer, so he snapped at the Briton, saying that he did not even know how to fight with magicians, but Briton did not understand what good it was, and he did not want to help the magician. He laughed at the magician, because it seemed to him that he had in his pants from one shot, and our hero had not even used magic. But the shaved man began to say to the magician that most likely our hero could use light or darkness, because only such magicians shine when they cast something. After these words, everything became clear to our hero because he understood why he was fooling around. He knew that magic of light is very effective, but instead it requires a strong concentration so that he himself is not blinded when using it. And since many techniques have some manifestations, a person who knows these signs can understand what is happening. Our hero was referring to the fact that he was a regular magician, of course, and at that time the shaved man only said that as soon as he sees that our hero casts something he will immediately attack. He noticed that he had fangs during this. He recollected the conversation with Jenny, where he asked her if there was a catch in that mission or not, but she answered that with the exception of the ringleader, who, as she had been told, had a special mixed blood, it could mean that this was the rage. Our hero stood there and decided to make a scene. He said that he had not noticed that someone standing in front of him smelled very strongly of dirty wool. Because it was dark, he asked the shaven man how long he had showered the shaved. Head immediately changed a lot. He said that if our hero could talk with his mouth, he would surely help him close it. The body and all the limbs of the shaved man immediately turned into the limbs of a wolf. He was a werewolf. Our hero thought that it was so because people with animal instincts and abilities to turn into an animal are them. According to the information, they are ruthless and no one can compare to them in physical strength. But the man standing in front of him was completely different, with a powerful jaw. He was not even able to control the saliva which flowed from the mouth, wrongly twisted claws and hair, which came out in wisps, so that even the skin was visible. It was all these points that indicated that the werewolf was of mixed blood. The werewolf said something to our hero, but he did not care. He kept hinting to the werewolf that he had difficulty controlling himself because his speech apparatus was weak in his form. He even made a joke about how he must have trouble thinking. This offended the shapeshifter, so that in a moment our hero was already standing face to face with him. Our hero was saved by the shield that he had put up earlier. But the werewolf continued to attack at one point. But our hero began to put up more and more shields, which definitely surprised the magician. Our hero understood that his shield blocked even heavy weapons, because it was a pattern. Because the protection was set in 5 layers, our hero was glad because he guessed that those could not even imagine that our hero would be able to block successive attacks. Our hero put the revolver to the werewolf's throat through the barrier and said that now it was his turn. He increased the force of his revolver in seconds later, fired a shot that sent the werewolf flying. He shot him and the werewolf began to panic. He could not even imagine such a result. Our hero knew that he had to finish because he could not give the initiative to the enemy. He fired several shots at the shapeshifter that begged him not to kill him, but they were fatal. Our hero understood that he could still be alive, so he used his Thunderbolt spell at the same moment. He thus fried the already lying werewolf into charcoal. Our hero at that moment looked at the remaining mage and did not know what would happen next, because he had not even helped his comrade. Could it be that all this time he had been collecting magic power? There was enough time. So the curiosity of the hero took over. He wanted to check on himself what had the other magician prepared. At that moment, our hero noticed that a strange aura started to blow from the staff of the magician. He understood that it was not only glowing, but in fact, it was all very threatening magic. It was this magic that was very popular in World 2.0. Its structures were simple in essence, and it was not at all difficult to study it, but it hits very hard and scares the enemies very much. It even seemed to our hero that the explosion of the building was everything, except the epicenter. But our hero did not want to leave it like that. He started to capture the magician's mama. The magician did not understand what our hero allowed himself, but our hero only wanted to steal the magician's ability to control his flow and to change the direction of the blow to the ceiling. The magician laughed because the blow did not even happen. He asked our hero, does he use that artifact? But our hero did not understand what he was talking about. The magician continued to tell our hero that he immediately recognized him, because the same vagabond who is just finishing the work for the pharmaceutical company simply cannot have such power. He shouted and asked our hero how he could get such a strong artifact. He thought that our hero must have run out of mana, so he asked our hero to hold on. Our hero did not understand what he meant. Does he just want to distract him with his chatter? But if not, then even after seeing a werewolf turned into rags, he might still think that our hero's strength is based on the use of an object. But after thinking about it a little, our hero realized that he simply can't hold his own. His mad look, shaking hands, and sweat on his face showed it. He was on the verge of a nervous breakdown because he was torn by doubts even after they had fought. He was probably wondering if the lightning that had killed the werewolf was really the power of our hero, and his power had accidentally just gone up into the sky. He knew that even if he shoved his doubts to the farthest corner of his mind, he would not be sure again because he was too scared. The magician with maddened eyes asked our hero if he was right, but our hero saw before him a man who could not trust his own feelings. He understood that before him stood complete idiot. So our hero said that if it was so, it did not change the fact that the magician in front of him was just scratching his tongue. Our hero used the new Shadow Raid ability. Immediately, all the threads began to manifest themselves to the magician. He did not understand what was happening, but a strange feeling appeared in his surroundings. Immediately, the maid's hands began to be tied, and then due to the pressure of the tentacles, too tight, and soon they fell off. He cried out in pain and asked our hero what was it all about. Our hero didn't know what he meant. Didn't he want to ask how he did it? But our hero understood that from the moment they entered the warehouse he was already preparing to make this move. He used his ability, which in the darkness can appear by itself. So it turned out that it was very useful and effective to use the shadows that come out of the legs of the owner. He understood only one disadvantage, which was the preparation, time. But he needed too much time. But there was too little light in the warehouse, so there was no restriction in principle in this too. In addition, the mage that stood in front of him believed that our hero was a mage of lightning. It played into his hands because he was able to use this magic without he understood that for every bright lightning there is a shadow. Though our hero was hoping for an interesting and dangerous fight, in the end he only got bored and died. He aimed his revolver at the magician's head so that he almost cried. Our hero asked him to calm down, and even said that if he answered his questions he would let him laugh. The magician did not understand, but the first question of our hero was whether all these people had been gathered or whether there were others. The magician immediately shouted that they wouldn't need another strike force. So it was their whole gang. Our hero was comforted by this because it meant that he would not be followed on his way to the intellectual property office. At the same time, the magician shouted that if he had mercy on him, he would become very useful because he was a level 3 magician. Our hero asked if that werewolf was also of the same level. The magician answered that he was because level 3 is the level at which a magician receives his recognition. Our hero had no idea what they were talking about, but he understood that magicians should not clarify their relations in such a way. So judging by the words of the mage it was, he who did not know his own rank, and things with two mages should have been already lying on the floor. The magician asked hopefully if he would be spared, but our hero answered loudly that he would not impress his revolver to his forehead. The magician begged for mercy, but our hero did not want to be so weak. He did not want to forgive anyone. Our hero was about to leave, but he saw a werewolf standing behind him. Our hero was surprised because he had never thought that a werewolf could survive the discharge. He could not imagine that because, among the usual magic of the thunderbolt type, he could not have imagined it. For the lightning bolt he had used before was considered the most powerful spell of all. But if a werewolf had his brains, he wouldn't have joined the gang. But while he was at it, our hero understood that werewolves intoxicated by the power that the moon gave them wanted to have it. So that's why the werewolf was able to get up. Our hero, after coming back from the blow, wondered how strong the real werewolves who are pure-blooded. After all, if a dirty bloodline regenerates so well, then purebloods should be several times better. Our hero understood that if he had faced a real one, he wouldn't have gotten off so easily. So our hero again took the werewolf's head in his hand and released another charge of lightning. This time our hero knew that he had definitely dealt with him. Count the time. The battle with them took about 5 minutes, and it was still noisy outside. Most likely the battle was in full swing. Outside, our hero understood that he had no reason to rush there, but he should not ignore those who fought with him. Our hero picked up the staff of the magician and thought that even though he was not strong, but he wore his staff, despite the discomfort it could mean that he was really helping. Our hero had taken it because he did not adhere to the principle that one should not use magic items. He simply could not afford such things. Our hero has decided to take it, but then he will see what he will do with it later. He went outside where his guys were doing their job. So our hero also decided to help his allies with chain lightning. All enemies immediately looked up into the sky where they saw the magic of our hero. And then they saw the staff of their wizard in his hands, and thus the boss. They all ran away at once. Man asked if it was over, and some of them just fell on the ground without strength. Our hero understood that the fight was not easy and his guys were outnumbered. He even noticed that the fiery guy had outgunned himself very badly. Our hero thought that he just wanted to show how good he was in a fight. He even realized that shooting fire is a simple ability, but without it, he would not have survived the battle. So he could draw attention to himself and not die. It was he who could enjoy the victory because he made an indispensable impact in it. Our hero saw that it was in a dangerous situation he was able to develop his abilities to the limit. Our hero realized that there was no point in berating someone who had done so well. Hey, went up to the fiery guy and told him that he was good. At the same time, our hero remembered that he was holding a staff. He did not understand what he was. Doing it does not increase magic power or speed, but holding it in his hands, our hero understood that it restores a little mana. But this stick seemed to our hero as if it was garbage because it gave him away. He might as well have shouted that he was a magician. Our hero is called, but he was thinking that now he will choose the outfit much better because better will be the one that is difficult to notice. He was approached, so our heroes decided to approach them as well. He said that they had done a great job, and at the same time they praised him too. Our hero said that all those who were seriously wounded had to go to the hospital, and the others who were left in one piece had to defend the territory. Our hero, as soon as he gave his orders, sat down in the hangar. He looked at his hands, which were trembling very much, and fatigue had accumulated. He thought about whether he should use the whipper, but at the same moment he realized that it would be better not to because he had very little of them left. He understood that it would be better to leave them for more serious cases. There were no more attacks from the gang, and all the enthusiastic people began to disperse in order to receive a reward from a pharmaceutical campaign. All people also expressed their gratitude to our hero, and our hero sent people and cleaned the warehouse along with a brief report. Our Greco only has to give the samples to the intellectual property office, but before he does, he asks if he can take some samples of ordinary medicines. He immediately answered positively. He was even told that our hero could take as much as he needed. He filled his bag with medicines, also with sleeping pills, and vitamins which he did not have at home. At one moment he was about to leave, but he noticed the staff and decided to think if he should sell it. He understood that if he takes it to Jenny, it will be enough for 1 or 2 vipers. After getting into the car, our hero felt that almost all his body was in great pain. But the work was not over yet, but he will be able to have a little rest after he gives the samples. Our hero did not like such tasks, but the fact that he was now inside the 10th district gave him some peace of mind. He arrived at the building, more precisely the intellectual property office, which was located in District 8. Our hero was frightened by the cleanliness and tranquility of the place. He wondered if the rulers of the Balkans were sitting there after all. The place where the administrative bodies of the city are assembled is a place where only the civil servants and officials of the local government can go in and out. It all reminded him of a temple from some legend. So at that very moment he decided to leave quickly. But the man approached our hero and asked what such a young man was doing there at such a time. Our hero immediately replied that he had business with the authorities and asked if he needed any special permission. The man said that our hero had come up with a great scheme. Our hero could not understand what to do because, if we judge it that way, the old man was certainly not an ordinary man after all. Not everyone can do sports in such a place. And if he started talking to him, it was not because he was bored. Our hero understood that it was too early to get in touch with people who had power, so it would be better to leave the conversation without leaving a strong impression. Our hero has realized that the old man is not looking at him but at the staff, and so he smiled and asked if he liked what our hero had done yesterday. He did not understand, but our hero said that he had left some bells and whistles, that even those who watched him from afar could see the show. And our hero probably thinks that he liked everything he had done yesterday too. Hey, asked him if he thought correctly, calling him a town councillor, and the old man smiled. Our hero thrust the stick into the ground and said that he wanted it back because it belonged to someone the old man cared about. The old man asked our hero if he knew about everything, but it was not difficult for our hero to guess, because the old man had recognized it and was waiting for him near the agency. In addition to that, a man who can move freely in the streets doing sport is able only to one person, the city councillor. However, our hero did not expect that instead of sending his subordinates, he would come in person. He looked at the staff and spoke about the same magician in a very good way. He said that even though he was not an excellent mage, he was still a good friend from the moment the old man decided to become a politician. The magician was the one who put all his soul and support in him, but now he is dead. But does our hero know why the old man came? Our hero at first thought that he came for revenge, but looking into his eyes, he realized that once that he didn't have a bit of anger. In his eyes, there wasn't even hatred or disappointment. There was only pity in his eyes. The old man did not keep silent for long, so he offered our hero to work. For him, he said that if our hero is such a talented and strong magician, he will be on his own, and also the peas will suffer. And the old man saw it for himself, because he could see that very lightning that struck from the sky at night. The old man's career is going up and up, so he thinks that he can arrange a warm place for him and our hero in the future. Our hero listened in silence, but he noticed that the old man showed his selfish desires more and more with each word. But he was able to accept that he was different from other people because he had a lot of taxpayers' money, public recognition, power, fame, and even talented people that were very difficult to find. Our hero understood that such people are very hard to find. But that doesn't mean that our hero should throw a leash of power over himself. Our hero decided to ask why the old man needed all this after all. He does not even understand why he needs our hero, and he has no reason to need the old man either. The old man was surprised he could not understand if our hero had refused his proposal or not. Our hero thought that if he needed help from such an influential man, he would have found someone other than the old man, because he was not even the head of the district, but just the town councillor. However, making an enemy of such an influential man could become a big headache for sure. Our hero understood that he could not do without flattering him. It was impossible to refuse him directly. So our hero said that if the advisor helped him, then our hero wouldn't respond in the same manner. The old man did not understand what our hero was talking about, so our hero explained to him that they are not friends, but that there is no reason for them to become enemies. It seems that Jenny and our hero were already in the bar because she was shouting loudly. She could not make out what it is at all, because she had heard about many people who became monsters simply by climbing the political tower. But this whole situation was getting out of hand. Our hero asked her if she thought that they could do anything else. However, even Jenny could not imagine anything, because this time everything went just fine. However, the fact that our hero can meet him again is very high, and after he will take a better position than now, provided that this man is really interested in the abilities of our hero. Jenny says that it is very cool to be acquainted with tiki people from the board because they provide all sorts of services instead of grumbling. Our hero listened to her and thought that she too plausibly said as if she had had such an experience. But the fact was that good magicians are truly a real rarity, and he understood that she was right, because not every girl could open her own business and create her own office where she could work as a broker. Just could not be called plain Jenny. Just then, Jenny received a call on the phone. She said that Amnik had already received and checked the registration for their new trip, and the money had already come. Our hero was about to leave, but Jenny asked him to wait. She asked him if he had found another source of income. Our hero did not say anything, so Jenny thought to herself that he had not. She immediately told our hero that in order to avoid any suspicion, it was better to do it as soon as possible. We need at least a cover, because officially an unemployed person with that much money is a target for the tax authorities. Our hero said that he would deal with it himself, and Jenny kept shouting at him from behind the bar to find a job. Our hero went out of the bar and was very tired because he wanted to go and have a rest by that time. But first of all, he should replenish the stock of vipers. After all, if he wants to move like ordinary people, forgetting about fatigue, he needs stimulants. At that moment, he went to the same garden where the well-known old man worked. He was very glad to be our hero, because he did not even know that our hero was very popular. He even apologized for his behavior at that moment. The old man was surprised that our hero is such a talented magician. So our hero asked him what he did not like about him. But he said that if he had heard the rumors one would have thought that it was possible to adapt to life so quickly. He could not even understand that some man who did not even know that he was smoking was alive at all. He asked him if they would sell him anything or not. The old man began to rub his hands together because his store was always open for such a guest as our hero. But at that moment, our hero immediately put a big amount of money on the table and asked for 100 grand of past vipers. At that moment, the old man seemed to have lost his mind. He immediately started to flatter our hero, saying that he was wrong about him, for he was impolite and did not recognize the perky young man. With a great future, he even said that he should have known before that our hero was earning good money. In fact, now he could show him better goods. He threw some strange things in his face, but our hero did not understand anything. Our hero went shopping in the street he got, tired and could hardly stand. Our hero almost fainted, but he had used the whip. He understood that it was not good to rely only on them, but he had no other choice. Endless wandering through the cold and disgusting streets. He even thought he was doing a good job up to this point. But would he be able to go on? Our hero had already come home, where he had laid in his room for a whole week, and now he felt too rested. He had even stretched, because he could not allow his muscles to become wooden. He even tried to eat right and calculate his own sleep schedule. After all, Renault's body, like glass, was useless and fragile. He's physically up, but he's used to it. But he didn't think he'd have to try so hard to get a part-time job. He couldn't work more than 3 days a week, and night shifts wouldn't suit him either. He figured it would take him more time to find something suitable. All the jobs that involved hard muscular work were also unsuitable. At this point, our hero got a message from Jenny, who asked when he would be back at work. But in addition to all these problems our hero has, another job, or rather a thing that he would like to learn. So he would definitely need a little more time to rest. He went to the library and had already decided on the places he wanted to visit, but he had come to the library with a specific purpose. He wanted to look at books about summoning magic, rituals, spiritual magic, homunculi, and a bit of necromancy. What would happen if he created a vanguard and used it in battle? He decided that the strategy would be very simple, because the werewolf striking force and the magician behind just fire support. It would be incredibly difficult to counter the enemy in this case, and only in a few ways. Either use the unique abilities and converts with the enemy in frontal attack, or just apply the strategy of gradual attack. And another way, it is to put all forces into a long-range attack to neutralize the mage and then counter-attack. If he learns magic with the call of the helpers or spirits, then you can at least briefly use the vanguard and the fight would be much easier. Our hero understood that the easiest would be to create a team, but he would like to reach their own limits, so he wants to use magic.